Okay, so it looks like there was a little bit of a glitch. I was actually kicked off of the live streaming platform that I was actually using for some reason. I don't know why this actually happened, but what we're going to be doing is instead of actually going through that, we have some polls. No, the show must be go on. What actually happened was the power went out because somebody was trying to print presidential bingo. I'm going to show you. We were trying to print presidential bingo in the studio, and the power actually went out because there was too much things going on at the same time. Now, this was actually a really bad idea on our part. We just wanted to have a little bit of a joke about it. And I wanted to get myself ready for the presidential election by getting my presidential bingo ready from Libs of TikTok. I don't know if you did see, but Libs of TikTok actually released a presidential bingo that everybody can actually use. And I wanted to use this for the debate too. I said, why not? So the presidential bingo is going to be a really bad idea on my part. But the thing is, the show must go on. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing what I wanted to do after this now. So what we're going to be doing is there's a couple of things that I wanted to go over. So of course, with everything being said about the debate today, there's a couple of ads that Trump is going to be running during the debate. And I think that it is hilarious that Trump is actually going to take up some time on the debate, or at least the debate ads, and for himself, because he's going to be on the debate. And I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, Joe Biden is going to do the same thing. But the thing is, I have not seen Joe Biden's, but I will see Trump's, and it's hilarious. I saw this before, and I do want to go over it with you guys too. So, this is the thing here. Since I'm a little bit unprepared to go live now because of the fact that, okay, so here, okay, so this is the ad that Trump was gonna run. It's hilarious. Watch this. If we can get any audio here, because I was unprepared to go live at this very second. Let's see here. Okay. So we should be good. No, we should not be good. Okay, so of course, everything is going around at the same exact time. So the debate was going to be, I mean, we obviously were going to get the debate between Trump and Biden, but the thing is, Trump was going to run run an ad on Joe Biden's seniority. And the fact that Joe Biden was actually losing his mind. And the fact is that when you're voting for Joe Biden in November, you're not voting for Joe Biden today. You're voting for Kamala Harris tomorrow. And Donald Trump Jr. and former President Trump actually tweeted this ad out. And I wanted to react to it, but of course, we're not going to get any audio because of the fact that everything is going haywire in the studio at the same exact time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some of what I had planned for you guys to watch, if this will cooperate with me, and we will get this all sorted out ASAP. So please enjoy what we had scheduled for you guys, what was supposed to happen, and enjoy this. Domestic policy, then foreign policy, and last, economic policy. We all know that Joe Biden cannot go on stage without tripping, going up the stairs, or even have a speech without messing up the person's name he is referring to. That's why I want to point out the contrast between the Joe Biden that we see every single day in America and the Joe Biden that we're going to see on this campaign stage, because this is a huge moment for Joe Biden, and this is actually going to be something that he's going to try to actually win back the voters with. And this is exactly a pivotal point that he thinks he's going to win, and he's may or may not. I think that he has a 90% chance of losing this debate, and I think that he has been preparing for the last week. So yes, there's a huge chance that he did actually prepare correctly. But the thing is, at the same exact time, we American citizens see how he acts every single day, and he 100% will be shot up with cocktail drugs to get him to the exact point that they want him to be. That's exactly why a drug test idea that former President Trump came up with was such a good idea. And this is exactly why we will be digging into exactly the failures that he had as president, because we need to realize all of the failures that Joe Biden had. Joe Biden had multiple failures on 3 different main points. And he had failures on every single point that you could lead, but I would definitely say that these are the main 3. So, if we were to completely do a deep dive, I would begin with the domestic policy here. So, this is a Federalist article, and this is 1,500 illegal immigrants from ISIS recruiting ground country have crossed the border since 2020. Now, this is the exact thing that Mayorkas, whatever you say his name as, has since said that it's not happening, and it is happening because we see it within our own eyes. We don't need somebody to sit here and say it's not happening, which it is happening. It's like they're telling you one thing, but then you're seeing a total different thing. We're not going to sit here as American citizens and be lied to countlessly. There's no possible way that we as American citizens should take this, and there's no reason why we should take it. We see it with our own eyes. We see, as we're going to be talking about, our own American citizens, our own neighbors, our own mothers, our own fathers, our own daughters, and our sons get killed by illegal immigrants every single day through this country. And that's because of the fact that Joe Biden has allowed illegal immigration to take the stronghold of American borders. And he is not at the forefront of law and order. He's instead in the forefront of immigrants that do not care about this country whatsoever. And it's a sad reality that we have to live with that. It's a sad reality that instead of Joe Biden caring about the law and order, caring about all of the American citizens that actually pay his salary, he instead is caring about citizens that are not paying his salary, are not going to be voting him in, and instead want to push a particular agenda on American citizens that we do not want as American citizens. No American citizen wants to be a border town because of the fact that border towns are completely filled with immigrants that do not care about our laws, that are stealing our American jobs, and it is actually making our towns and cities that we live in exactly worse. The exact opposite of what we want as America. We want a country that we can feel proud of. We want a country that we can actually get together and say, listen, this is our country. This is a country that cares about its laws, cares about respecting each other, cares about our sense of community. But instead, we're shipping in people that do not care about any of those things and have no motivation to actually get us to those levels because, again, they were not born here. They have no dog in the fight at all. These immigrants do not care, and this is exactly why. 1,500 of these immigrants are from Takistan, a country known for being ISIS breeding ground, have crossed the southern border in never before seen numbers under President Biden's administration. More than 1,500 Takis have been apprehended before October 2020 and May 2024, a sharp increase from the previous 14 years, during which only 26 Takistani nationals were caught. At least 500 Takistanis have been caught in 2024 alone, with most claiming asylum, of course, according to the New York Post. This article from Post's Gene Taylor follows multiple reports that the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement arrested 8 Takistani nationals with connections to ISIS in 3 major United States cities. The House Homeland Security Committee attributed the rise of ISIS-connected crossings due to custom border protections, limited ability to fully vet and screen those crossings in the United States. Officials have since then expelled the individuals from our country, but they should have never even been here from the very beginning. Why are they even here? The fact is that these individuals are coming to our border not to get a job, not to make a better life for themselves, but to cause us harm. That's the exact reason why we're dealing with this problem at the forefront. It's because of the fact that they do not care. Why wouldn't they stay in their own country? It's not to make a better life for themselves because most immigrants are not making a better life for themselves. 2/3 of we're going to be talking about this. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but 2/3 of the people now being arrested broadly in America are now illegal immigrants. Now, I'm not going to get ahead of myself because we will be covering this later in this very video, in this episode here, in this live stream. But the thing is, again, we need to realize what we're dealing with as a nation. We're dealing with people that do not care about our nation. And we need to realize that faster than we actually are doing so now. Joe Biden's not realizing that there's even a problem, and he needs to realize that there is a problem on this debate stage, which we will be seeing soon. He needs to realize this And he needs to realize this fast, or else this is going to be a huge catastrophe, and he's going to lose by an even bigger margin than what we will be covering. And that's already a huge margin that he will be reportedly losing from. And this is according to a lot of different polls, and we will be covering these. So, a recent article from Foreign Affairs labeled Takistani a fertile recruiting ground for ISIS-K, a regional branch of the Islamic State, citing the nation's poverty and lack of social opportunities and pretty much criminalization. It's only a matter of time before these individuals connected to a terrorist group is involved in something devastating on United States soil, and this administration will be responsible. I completely agree. This is said by the House Homeland Security Committee Chairman Mark Green, Republican from Tennessee. I completely agree with him because of the fact that this is just common sense. If we ship in people that do not care about our borders, do not care about us as a country, do not care about our law and order, then of course we're going to face more. We're going to face more crime. We're going to have a worse life off for us, because now we have to deal with these people that do not care about us at all. They don't care about us. And they actually hate us. Not even don't care about us, they hate us. They say this blatantly. So, the most recent border encounter total reached 170,723 individuals in May alone, according to the United States Customs and Border Patrol. Of those, nearly 100,000 are single adults. So these are not people coming through the border. The majority of these people are coming through singly. They're not coming through with families like Joe Biden and AOC are saying, like, oh, you're separating families. No, we're not separating families. They're coming as single adults, military-age men from other countries. The majority of these illegal border crossers claim asylum and are released into the United States while they await their court hearings. Now, who's to say that they go to these court hearings? Nobody, because they definitely don't, and they definitely will not, because there's no incentive to do so. According to Fox News, Bill Milligan, ICE non-detained docket has exploded to 7.4 million cases, dooming each ICE officer to manage an average of 7,000 cases each. That's crazy. How is one ICE officer supposed to locate 7,000 people? And you can even ask your buddy that also works in ICE, because he's also trying to locate 7,000 people. That's crazy. ICE's non-detained docket is made up of immigrants who have crossed the border illegally and have been released and are waiting on their immigration court dates. It is worth noting that this number does not include the 1.9 million gotaways, which is people that have got away from the Border Patrol, and is not counted in any of these figures. It's disgusting. A number that is likely heavily underestimated, and who have entered into the United States since Biden has taken office. An Inspector General report earlier this month revealed Border Patrol was pressured into vetting only drivers of legal ports of entry. FBI Director Christopher Wray has sounded the alarm on the potential terrorist attack on the United States soil, given the unvetted number of migrants crossing the southern border, specifically from crisis-ridden nations in the Middle East. Of course, because of the fact that Joe Biden is choosing to ignore the border, and instead of actually doing something about it, he chooses to ignore it for some reason. Instead of actually doing something about it, he's ignoring this, and it's going to become a bigger problem for him. And if, God forbid, something does happen, then it's going to be the warning signs are red flashing lights, strobe lights, saying this is a problem. We need to fix it. We need to fix this problem before anything happens. And then we ignore the problem. We ignore all of the warning signs of the very problem. And then what? And then we're going to act shocked when something bad happens and a catastrophe happens. Why are we going to act shocked? We have all the warning signs. We have all of the things that we need to actually prepare ourselves, and we're not doing those very things. Who's to blame? The people in charge that know about these situations, and they know the solution to these problems. And that's exactly the same thing that we did under Trump. It's having big law and order policies. It's having stay in Mexico policies implemented. And it's making sure that these people do not get to be in America before their court date and their hearing date, because most of the people that go to court don't have actual reasons. They just want to come to America because they want to come to America. So with that being said, we do have another one of Joe Biden's failures. That's Surgeon General that we just have in America, because of Joe Biden, just declared that there is a public health emergency because of the Second Amendment, because of the fact that you, the American citizen, are allowed to have guns. You, the American citizen, are now declared a threat. And that's because of the fact that he wants to take your guns. And he thinks that if you go to your gun safe, a Glock is just going to appear in your hands. Your shotgun is just going to appear in your hands. Your rifle is going to just appear in your hands and just start shooting the walls, shooting the ceilings, just everybody. And it's going to be a huge catastrophe. They think that this is exactly what happens. There's a gun safe right here. Do you hear gunshots go off? No, you do not. There's a gun safe right here, literally 5 feet away from me. There is no bullets being flown out of the gun safe. There's no bullets being flown at all. If I put my shotgun into my hands, there's no bullets being fired at all, because I know the fact. I know the common sense of this. It's if there's no bullet in the gun will not shoot. If your hand is not on the trigger, the gun will not shoot. And if the safety is on, then the gun will not shoot. This is very, very simple stuff. This is preschool level stuff here, right? If you don't touch the stove, you will not get burned. If you do not touch the stove top, your hand will not hurt, right? This is very simple to understand here. But the United States Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, will not understand this. And we will be digging into this, right? His position to assist the Biden administration's censorship efforts during the COVID pandemic, considering that the government had a responsibility to root out, quote, misinformation. Now, Murthy wants to do the same thing with the Second Amendment, declaring gun violence a public health crisis. How? Let's find out. The Surgeon General wants to take gun ownership out of the realm of politics and put it into the realm of public health. Fortunately, the Constitution already has a pure view over the individual's right to own a firearm. Wow. Oh my God. It's only as if the founding fathers had realized that the government overreach will be pretty high. So they actually gave us the Second Amendment. And if it wasn't for the Second Amendment, we would have absolutely no right to bear arms. And if it wasn't for any of our amendments, we will be just like China. And this will be revealing itself in the coming months leading up to the election, because of the fact that this, like every other Joe Biden policy, it's just an overreach of rights, and it's overreach of your rights. So, but putting aside the fact that Murthy's goal is unconstitutional, the premise of his report is highly misleading. For starters, like most anti-gun activists, Murthy dishonestly conflates suicides, a mental health issue, with homicides, a criminality issue, I should say, to make sweeping connections about firearms. Murthy even throws in incidents where gun is used in self-defense as a, quote, harm, plaguing the nation's health. But that's just the beginning. Virtually every media outlet and left-wing politician in the country repeats his fake statistic, which is the foundation of Murthy's report. And of course, from the Federalist, this is a really good deep dive. The problem is that every study used to bolster his claim counts 18 to 19-year-olds as adolescents, including criminals, even sometimes up to 25-year-olds. Americans under 18 cannot purchase guns legally. Once an 18 or 19-year-old gets his hands on a firearm illegally, he faces adult criminal charges. And when you take an 18 to 19-year-olds out of the studies, the number of gun-related deaths among kids plunges. According to the CDC, the leading killers of children between the age of 1 and 14 are vehicular accidents, which is suffocation and drowning. So this is exactly the thing here. You are more likely to be hit in a car. You are more likely to get into a car accident and die as a suffocation and drowning than you are than to get killed by a gun. And they actually say this in the next sentence: twice as many kids under 12 died in cars than from guns. So wouldn't you want to ban cars, if anything, if you were trying to actually ban the thing that is killing the most amount of people, quote unquote? It is worth remembering that relatively few children die from natural causes, and if these studies began at birth rather than at once a 1-year-old, genetic abnormalities and accidents will be leading killer of children. Surely, a 1-year-old is as much as a child as a 19-year-old who was illegally purchased a firearm. This condition is ludicrous, and putting some self-reported polling data into the slick graphs don't magically make it more scientific. Of course, I 100% agree. As of 2020, there are 258 million adults in the United States, so unless these adults are talking about witnessing gun violence on television, it's implausible that 139 million people have personally experienced gun violence or know close family members who have. Then again, the Kaiser study used by Murthy puts no limitations on family, so they might as well be talking about second cousin's wife's stepson, of course. When I took a deeper dive into the Kaiser poll of 1,271 people, I also noticed that 38% of these respondents contend that they have personally been involved in or witnessed an incident with a gun. That translates into tens of millions of Americans walking around right now who have witnessed a gun being drawn in anger or shooting one into self-defense. Seems highly unlikely. 6 in 10, huh? If someone asked me if I was worried about a loved one being the victim of firearm violence, I would also say yes, shootings happen, and every instance of gun criminality is a tragedy. So I'm not surprised if not 10 in 10. When it comes to loved ones, we have so many worries, some rational, some not. But there's a huge difference between a pollster asking a question if he's worried about gun violence and asking him what he worries about the most. Because a long-term Gallup poll finds the identity theft, car theft, burglary when not home, and hate crimes all appear as concerns related to personal safety fear before being murdered, which predates the invention of a firearm. Though I'm not sure if Murthy knows that. It is probably because the chances of the law-abiding citizen in the United States being shot are still rather low. The poll used Murthy, which include one from leftist smear Operation Southern Poverty Law, just to give you an idea, are all constructed to mislead Americans, I should say. Experts making a good faith effort to solve problems, a mental health crisis, or a crisis of criminality aren't relying on bogus studies. And I completely agree. A firearm is used to protect you and your family, and a Glock, a pistol more broadly, is used to protect you on the go. So if you are making, let's just say if you're doing deliveries or you're actually carrying a lot of money around, you might want to use a pistol to protect you yourself in the things that you are actually transporting. But the thing is, at the same exact time, they're going to sit here, and Joe Biden gets the blame again, too. They're trying to take your rights away, and they're trying to take away the things that Americans like and enjoy. And that's because of the fact that just themselves don't like it. That's because of the fact that they are misconstrued, and that's because of, and that's the most charitable takeaway from this, that they're misconstrued. The uncharitable way that you could be thinking about this is that they're purposefully trying to lie to the American people to take their guns away. So which one is it, Joe Biden? Is it the fact that you yourself don't like guns, so you don't think that we should have the right to have guns? Or is it that you are lying on purpose? Or is it that you don't know? You just don't know any better. So which one is it? I think, and I know, that Joe Biden has a lot of info available to him as the president of America. He has a lot of info. And because of the fact that you have a lot of info, the charitable takeaway from this is that you're either lying or you're ignoring the evidence that is put in front of your face. So please, open your eyes and pay attention to the evidence that is in front of your face. Guns stop crime. Crime does not obey the law. Law-abiding citizens follow the law. You banning guns will only infringe upon the rights of law-abiding citizens that like to protect themselves and their family. So please, if you wouldn't mind, just for 1 second of one day, please just think. That's all I ask you to do. So with that being said, we're going to be moving into a Reuters article. So Biden calls Supreme Court student loan ruling wrong and will deliver remarks. So, this was on June 30th, 2023. So this was actually last year. Last year, he revealed that he wanted to actually make sure that the student loans of people that are in the upper class of Americans actually get um forgiven, is his words. And it's not forgiven, first of all. It's actually a lie. These things do not get forgiven. These things just get transitioned and put onto the American taxpayer. They do not get forgiven because of the fact that you do not make debt disappear. What happens is that somebody else pays the debt. So, Washington, June 30th. President Joe Biden on Friday called the Supreme Court ruling that blocked his plan to cancel $430 billion with a B in student debt disappointing and wrong, and said that he could work to find other ways to provide relief to American families. Biden will deliver remarks on his decision at 3:30 p.m. last year, which he already did, and that's because of the fact that he continues to ignore the Supreme Court. We talk about this all the time. Joe Biden ignores the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, do not, quote unquote, forgive student debt because of the fact that it is not constitutional. Why are you going to transfer debt from one person to another person, and that other person you are transferring debt to is the American taxpayer that has no say in this? Why are you going to put the American taxpayer in a position that it needs to actually pay somebody else's debt that they have no idea why? They have no connection to this very person. Why are they going to go and pay their student debt? Why are they going to? Are you going to give us a diploma? All the people that paid these student loans and did not get any benefit from it whatsoever, are you going to give them student loans? Am I going to not give them student loans? Are you going to give them a doctorate or a medical degree or a degree at all? Are we going to get like a participation trophy? Are we going to get something in return for this? No, we're not. As American citizens, we're just going to get screwed. We're going to get left with the bill. And that's because of the fact that Joe Biden is trying to buy votes. And he's continuing to actually ignore the Supreme Court. So I'm very surprised that the Supreme Court does not say anything about this. And these are all domestic policy things that Joe Biden has implemented. And that's only one of the things. Those are only three out of 5 articles that I have here. This is the 4th article, right? Increased illegal immigration brings increased crime. Almost 2/3 of federal arrests involve non-citizens. So, Customs and Border Patrol encountered over 275,000 illegal aliens, and this is from the heritage.org, by the way, crossing our borders nationwide in April alone, setting a disgracing precedent for illegal aliens entries under the Biden administration. While the majority of illegal aliens seek a better life, the undeniable link between increasing illegal immigration and crime poses a significant threat to American communities. President Joe Biden's decision to grant mass parole for millions of aliens, allowing them to remain legally in the United States, only amplifies the devastating effects of increased illegal immigration on our society. Since Biden took office, over 6.2 million illegal aliens have been encountered at the nation's borders, and over 2 million of them have been released into the nation's interior. A considerable number of them have engaged in criminal activities once they settled. In 2023 alone, Border Patrol agents have encountered thousands of illegal immigrants with prior criminal convictions, including assault, rape, and murder. The true extent of crimes committed by illegal aliens remains unknown because there are also over 1.5 million unaccounted for gotaways since Biden's term began. A 2021 Department of Justice report revealed that 64% of federal arrests in 2018 involved non-citizens, despite them compromising only 7% of the population at the time. While the Biden administration fails to provide continuous updates on the illegal alien crime data, Texas's Department of Public Safety maintains a running database of such incidents. Other states should follow suit. This okay, Texas again. I love you. Texas again has saved the day. So, Texas, um, should do this. They are really doing a job at this front. Florida should do this. And so should Arizona. Every single border state should do this. California, Nevada, all of these states that we have some control over should publish their their stuff here. And of course, Nevada, obviously, they're not really next to anything along those very lines. But the thing is, anything can help. If we can see what it's like in Nevada and see what it's like in Texas, we can compare the two states and say, okay, well, obviously in Texas, it's a border state. We can see that it's a lot worse over there. California, we can see that it's very bad over there too. But of course, California is not going to get anything close to what Texas gets. And just like New York, just like other states along those lines, they're not going to get anything close to what a border state gets. So, several chilling examples underscore the urgency of the situation. Alexis Sarabet, an illegal alien from Cuba with a history of violence, beheaded his girlfriend with a machete in July of 2021. In April of this year, Francisco Opera, deported 4 times in the last 14 years, was accused of gunning down 5 Honduran immigrants in Cleveland, Texas, including an innocent 8-year-old. In February, Brian Marquez, who has deportation orders but was still in the United States, brutally murdered his roommate by beating him. He was charged with first-degree murder. In January, Jose Menendez faced 5 counts of indecency with a minor after allegedly sexually assaulting a young child multiple times. And in March of last year, Gene Markin, an illegal alien who posed as an unoccupied minor, was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder after allegedly murdering a Daytona Beach couple. Machin had previous arrests related to drug charges, which were dropped due to a soft on crime. Soros-backed Florida State Attorney Armias Aliyah. The left advocates for soft on crime prosecutors who are backed by Soros funds and are for sanctuary cities. But this is a deadly combination. As long as sanctuary cities shield criminal aliens, illegal aliens from deportation, and leftist prosecutors are appointed to promote ideological woke crime policies based on what the left perceives as fairness, the persistence of crimes like these will endure. Clearly, Biden's current border policies are not working, and the irony here is that his political platform, which was seemingly sympathetic towards migrants, is also killing them. For example, 38 illegal aliens were killed after a fire broke out in an immigrant holding facility south of the border, and over 850 illegal aliens died while trying to traverse the southwestern terrain into the United States last year. And those numbers don't include the thousands who are beaten, abused, and sex trafficked by human smugglers as they try to get into the United States. The 850 deaths in 2022 alone represent a staggering 24% surge compared to the peak figures under the Trump administration and a significant 58% jump from Obama's administration. These statistics demonstrate the abundance of safety in the order resulting from Biden's border surge, and they contradict the claim of a humane immigration policy advocated by the left, of course, because the left does not care. The left just wants to go with their policies, and they do not care about the implication of it. They do not care about the side effects of it. They only want to push the policies that they want to push, and they do not care about any of the facts regarding these very things. Illegal aliens with criminal histories who commit crimes within our borders pose a threat to the safety and security of American communities. Cities with high crime rates, particularly sanctuary cities, witness the immediate impact of this situation. If left unaddressed, this issue will eventually affect all states, effectively turning every state into a border state, of course, because that's their ultimate goal: destroying America. Left-wing prosecutors backed by Soros favor a soft on crime overhaul of the justice system, allowing criminals to walk free, and rates to skyrocket. These policies, along with the inadequate border policies of the current situation, endanger American communities as criminal illegal aliens flock to regions that indulge their conduct. To protect American communities, urgent and decisive action must be um, immediately taken. Robust measures must be implemented, including border strengthening, increased border enforcement through vetting processes of all border crossers, detainment instead of release of for all apprehended illegal aliens, and swift deportation of those without credible asylum claims. And this needs to be done without the courts. Like, why are you going to look into you're going to send them to court, take up our court systems just because of the fact that they say, oh, I want to claim asylum here. Okay. Well, there's so many people that want to go ahead of you in the court system. Why are we going to put you first? No, we need to deal with America first. We need to deal with our problems here. We have a backed up court system as it is. We need to deal with those cases that we already have. And if we have time for you, then we will hear from you. You can't, unless you're from a country that we know is a dictatorial country, and you will get killed if you go back to that very country. Then yeah, I mean, if those three countries you're from, then whatever, where we obviously have some room for you in a very small facility, I may add. We should have that policy. But the thing is, we don't. We have this policy for every single country, and it's sad. Yes, for Mexico, you can go back to Mexico. You're fine. So the thing is, all these people pay so much money to get into America that when they're here, they don't want to be denied because that would be a big waste of money on their front. But that's not our problem. That's not our problem because of the fact that they decided to break our laws and come into America illegally. That's not our problem. That's their problem. Okay, moving into the last domestic policy article we have is another illegal alien that is named under the name Jocelyn Nungray. What we know about the 12-year-old girl's final hours before she was killed by an illegal immigrant. So, illegal aliens, like we just talked about, are a big problem for Joe Biden. He needs to actually fix this border immediately because this is another person that has fallen victim to an illegal alien. This happened 8 days ago. It's every parent's worst nightmare. Their child is missing and not answering their phone. That's what happened to the mother of a 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungray on June 17 when she woke up to find her daughter had snuck out of their apartment. She did not know that Jocelyn's body has already been found in North Houston Creek. 1 week later, the death of the little girl with an enduring smile has left people across the Houston area heartbroken and angry. Here's what we learned about Jocelyn's last hours. Sunday, June 16. Alexis put Jocelyn in her 5-year-old brother to bed around 10 p.m. on Sunday, June 16. Police later said that they believe Jocelyn snuck out of the apartment sometime after midnight. Her 13-year-old boyfriend later told police that Jocelyn called him late that night from a convenience store. He said that he could hear her talking with two grown-ups. Monday, June 17. Jocelyn seen with suspects. Okay, so it says warning graphic details inside. I can already see it's probably a abduction. Houston police said that Jocelyn was walking in, I can't pronounce that road, early Monday. Then when two men, later identified as Franklin and Joanne, 22 and 26, asked her for directions. The three of them then walked into a 7-Eleven store before the men allegedly lured Jocelyn to a bridge on West Rinklin Road. Police said that they were there for a couple of hours and then they tried to victim up, took her pants off and strangled her and dumped her in the creek. The girl's body was found by Passover Bay. Billie Jean Jackson had just dropped her husband off at work early Monday morning and was crossing the Rinklin Road Bridge near, I can't pronounce that, around 6 a.m. when something caught her eye. I saw what I thought was a mannequin, Jacqueline told us. She turned back to take a closer look and realized that it was a young lady's body. So she called 911. It broke my heart when I found out that she was 12. I was devastated. So then the mother went on a search for her. Tuesday went by, Wednesday went by, and she's now saying that these illegal aliens took her baby away on Wednesday. On Thursday, suspects arrested these two people. and the neighbors said that HPD, Houston Police Department, showed up around 4 a.m. and used a loudspeaker to order both of these suspects to come out. When they didn't, officers approached the second floor apartment with weapons drawn. A witness said that one of the guys tried to jump off of the balcony to get away, but Houston Police Department had the place surrounded, and they quickly grabbed him. Witnesses gave us images of the suspects being questioned. He learned that these two people had bites and scratches on his arms, and when he was arrested, the girl told investigators that the guy was one of the top of Jocelyn, and he was the one that tied her up and threw her into the bay to get rid of DNA evidence. One woman who lives in a complex with her 14-year-old daughter was shaken up by the fact that the accused killers lived so close. It could have been my child. It's very emotional, she told us. This woman, who asked us to not say her name, said that these two moved in a few weeks earlier. One resident told us that the men often sat on their balcony and yelled things at women who passed by. We're going to be watching you, stuff like that. So it's just disgusting. On Friday, June 21st, both suspects in the United States were illegally here. Now, this is just because of Joe Biden. This 100% is because of Joe Biden, because this would have never happened if it was under Trump. The border was under control under Trump. Now it's not. The whole entire world is falling apart under Joe Biden and not under Trump. Trump actually had everything under control. And talking about things under control, we have a Reuters article on, now we're digging into the foreign policy front here. Timeline, the events leading up to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So of course, this would have never happened if it was under Donald Trump, former President Trump. This happened March 1st, 2022. The timeline was revealed by Reuters. This is when the article was published. Russia launched a large-scale invasion of Ukraine on February 24th. Here's a timeline of Ukrainians' relationship with Moscow since it won independence in 1991. So, we can see things happened in 2004. Pro-Russian candidate declared president, but allegations of voting rigging trigger protests known as Orange Revolution, facing a rerun for the vote. Pro-Western former prime minister is elected as president. 2005, this new person takes control and with promises to lead Ukraine out of the Kremlin's orbit towards NATO and the EU. NATO promises Ukraine that it will one day join the alliance. The other guy in Ukraine wins the presidential election 2013. The government suspends trade in Asolson talks with the the European Union, and opts to revive economic ties with Moscow, triggering months of rallies in Kyiv. In 2014, Parliament votes to remove the new person that was voted in as president. After bloodshed with the protests, within days, armed men seized parliament in the Ukrainian regime in Crimea and raised the Russian flag. Moscow later annexes the territory. In April of 2014, pro-Russian separatists in the eastern region of Donbass declare independence. Some 15,000 people have been killed since 2014 in fighting between the separatists in the Ukrainian army, according to the Kyiv government. In 2017, an association agreement between Ukraine and European Union opens markets for free trade goods and services and visa-free travel to the European Union for Ukrainians. In 2019, former comic actor Vladimir Zelensky is elected president. 2021. See, again, nothing happened before 2021. 2021 is when, Joe Biden becomes president, right? Zelensky appeals to the United States President Joe Biden to let Ukraine join NATO. In February, his government phrases the assets of the opposition leader, I can't pronounce him, and the Kremlin's first prominent ally in Ukraine. Spring 2021, Russia begins massing troops near Ukrainians' borders in what it says that it was training exercises. So this is the spring of 2021, when Joe Biden said that if Russia invades a little bit of Crimea, a little bit of Ukraine, it's going to be fine. That's the spring of 2021. November of 2021, images taken by Maxar Technologies show ongoing buildup of Russian forces near Ukraine, with estimates soon surpassing 100,000 troops deployed. This is when Joe Biden should have came in and said, hey, no, we are not doing this. You need to get yourself out of this situation immediately. But he didn't. Then in December of 2021, Russia presents security demands, including that NATO pull back troops and weapons from Eastern Europe and bar Ukraine from ever joining. And Ukraine was always supposed to be a buffer state. So this is the thing here. Ukraine was supposed to be used as a buffer state. It should have never been part in any talks with joining NATO whatsoever. You upset Putin. Now, of course, Putin is not the best guy whatsoever, but the thing is, why are you going to go and upset him for no reason, Joe Biden? January 24th, 2022, NATO pulls forces on standby and reinforces Eastern Europe with more ships and fighter jets. So they completely do the opposite of Putin requested. Washington responds to Russia's security demands for repeating a commitment to NATO's open door policy while offering a pragmatic evaluation of Moscow's concerns. 2 days later, Russia says that its demands are not addressed. So this is exactly when Joe Biden should have said, no, this is exactly what's going to happen. You're not going to pull the strings here. I'm going to pull the strings. This is exactly what's going to happen. You're going to leave Ukraine. Ukraine's not going to be part of NATO. Don't worry about it. It's never going to be part of NATO. But you need to make sure that it stays a free country here. So you need to back off. And for agreement of backing off, we will back off ourselves. And if you don't, then there will be a bomb placed on your door. Okay? There will. And this is exactly how you do things here. This is exactly what Trump did. February 2022, amid growing Western fears Russia could invade and attack Ukraine, the United States says that it will send 3,000 extra troops to NATO members Poland and Romania. And Washington allies say that it will not send troops to Ukraine, but warn of severe economic sanctions if Russia President Vladimir Putin takes military action. Sanctions don't do anything. Russia does not care about sanctions. Saying don't a million times is not going to fix the problem. You go to Putin and say, listen, this is what's going to happen. You demand. This is exactly what Trump used to do. But Joe Biden is not a strong person. That's February 2021. In the TV address, Putin says that Ukraine is in a part of Russian history and it will be taking it over. The United States and Britain and their allies sanction Russian parliament members and break their other assets in response to Putin's troops order. Germany halts the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline project. February 2023, Russian-backed separatist leaders ask Russia for help repelling aggression from the Ukrainian army. 2024, February 2024, I should say. Not February 2024. February 24th, this is actually just 3 days later, Putin authorizes special military operations in Ukraine. This is when the war was declared. February 2026. Why do I keep saying 2026? 26. Western allies announced new sanctions, including restrictions of Russian central bank and expelling key banks off of the main global payment system. So this is the full-on thing that happened 2 years ago. Obviously, no situation has gotten better. The situation has only gotten worse since Joe Biden has tried to put his hands in the pot here. And the situations abroad, all the situations abroad, have only gotten worse. This is only one front. This is the Ukrainian front. Now, turning our attention to Israel, we can see that on October 7th, Hamas terrorists burst through the border and slaughter Israelis in their homes. We covered this extensively. We will continue to. 9 months ago, this hasn't been an ongoing thing here, right? We already know the timeline of this. October 7th in the middle of the night, Hamas actually broke into Israel's border and starts killing a bunch of citizens for no reason whatsoever and took 1,200 hostages to Hamas territory, which is Gaza, and then they decided not to release them until the Israel government decided to go in and rescue these hostages. And every single time Israel decides to rescue these hostages, they are always put on the back burner, and they are always told by the United States government that they are doing something wrong. So there's nothing that Israel can actually do to actually be seen in good light from America. Instead, America always looks at Israel as the bad guy no matter what they possibly do. And that's not a right thing to do at all, especially when they're fighting over not only land, because Israel does not want the Gaza Strip, that does not want Gaza. They're fighting for the right to actually protect themselves here. They know the facts of this case, and they know that if Hamas continues to govern over the Gaza Strip, then they will be attacked later on. And Hamas already accepted this and already said this very thing. So there's nothing that's going to be changed about the situation unless Israel changes who's governing the very thing that they're fighting, governing the actual body of land that is very next to Israel. So nothing's going to change here. So with that being said, we have lastly the economic policy that Joe Biden is actually implementing. So from Trump proposed tax lowerings for the corporate class and actual billionaires and millionaires in America, because of the fact that actually brings corporate America to accelerate, and it actually makes sure that corporate America saves money, thus giving more raises to employees, giving the tax break that they got to their customers by saving the customers more money. So that gets back to the middle class Americans. The middle class Americans work for corporate America. I'll have you know. I work for a small business, so not really a corporation, but I know people that do work for corporations, and these corporations will give out more money in bonuses and stuff like that when they save more money. It's just common sense. So as soon as Joe Biden went into the presidency, the Biden administration will target billionaires and corporate America with sweeping tax raises as part of a plan to cut the United States' record national debt. And this never actually got into fruition because it did not help the problem. It only worsened the problem because the spending continued while trying to recoup that money from billionaires and corporate America. That did not actually help anything because now corporate America is, quote unquote, taking advantage of the situation and taking advantage, quote unquote, in Joe Biden's own words, taking advantage of American citizens and charging them, quote unquote, too much. So now you're sitting here saying that they need to pay more and then swallow it. They're not going to swallow the debt. They're not going to swallow all of the losing of the money that they're losing out on. No, they're not. They're going to charge the people that are buying the products. The proposal is expected to be unveiled on Thursday State of the Union. So this was actually published a long time ago. So they say March 7th, 2024. So yeah, this was a few months ago. The proposals, which are unlikely to pass Congress but are intended to distinguish Biden's progressive agenda from that of his Republican rival Donald Trump, come as most voters remain unconvinced by the president's performance on the economy. Of course, 60% say that they disapprove of Biden's handling of the economy, according to the FT Michigan Ross poll conducted last month, while 49% say that they are in worse off financial situation than when he first took office. Completely agree here because everything is off the walls, off the chains. Everything's more money. You look at gas prices, you look at meat prices and egg prices, and every single price, they're record high. And that's because of the fact that the financial status of America is not good. Our dollar is worthless. What can you buy with a dollar now? Nothing. You can't even buy a drink. You can't buy a bag of chips. Even the dollar store, Dollar Tree, isn't even $1 anymore. It's $1.25. Dollar Tree has been around all of my life. I'm 20 years old. Now Dollar Tree is more than $1. That's disgusting. That's because of Joe Biden's policies. Joe Biden is a failure. This whole episode is on Joe Biden's failure as president. Joe Biden failed you. Joe Biden failed us, the American people. Remember that when we see this debate. This is all about Joe Biden. The actual referendum is on Joe Biden, not Trump. Trump was president 4 years ago. Joe Biden is president now. And we are facing an existential crisis all along our world because Joe Biden is failing us. Joe Biden is failing everyone. He's a big failure. Biden suspends oil and gas leasing in slew of executive actions on climate change. Now, on top of all of this, on top of you paying more at the pump, you paying more every single time that you turn your head, you are charged $100. Every single time you decide to look at your monthly spending. Remember this. Joe Biden suspends, I should say, oil and gas leasing in executive order. And that's because of the fact that he believes that climate change, which the climate is not, the only climate change that we see is when it's daytime and nighttime, and when it's summer, winter, fall, and spring. Those are the only times that we see the weather changing, right? President Joe Biden on Wednesday signed a series of executive orders that prioritize climate change across the levels of government and put the United States on track to curb planet warming. Biden's orders direct in Secretary of Interior Department, we know about that, to halt new oil and national gas releases on public lands and waters, and began a new thorough review of existing permits for fossil fuel development. So, because of the fact that we are seeing high gas prices, he decides to take away existing permits for fossil fuel development. How nice. In addition to pause on leasing, Biden will direct the federal government to conserve 30% of federal lands and water by 2030. So not only is he taking away a permit for fossil fuel development, he's also taking away land from the average American corporation that is producing oil for us, the American citizens. He's taking that away and giving it to the federal government to do what with? To just sit there. So now 70% of federal lands and water is going to be used, and 30% is going to be used for nothing. The series of actions kick off the president's agenda to reduce the country's emissions and establish stricter targets under the Paris Climate Accord. Now, if you do not recall, former President Trump actually took us out of the Paris Climate Accord. That's because of the fact that it was a big waste of money. We pay millions and millions and millions of dollars. We're the highest and the largest country to actually pay the Paris Climate Accord. And what do we get in return? Demands. Well, you pay us millions and millions of dollars, and you know what we're going to do? Demand you to do more. You do this and this and this and this and pay me while doing it. That's exactly what the Paris Climate Accord is. Because we know for a fact China's not signing on these climate accords. Japan's not signing on these climate accords. All these other countries that are going and actually producing things, like actual producing, because America, yes, we produce things. But China, on the level of China, no. China would always take the cake on that because they have no policy on exactly restricting these exact measures. And that's because they look at it as a good thing. They look at production as a good thing, and it is a good thing. We need to look at production as a good thing in America. We need to bring America back to the days that we had so many companies here. So many towns and streets that I go on in Massachusetts and Rhode Island more broadly, I see that we have so much potential for mills. We have so many mills that are not used anymore that have been used in the I would say like 50, maybe 100 years ago. All these mills are converted into 99 restaurants and stuff like that, which are not beneficial to us whatsoever. But the thing is, they were beneficial at one time, and they have pictures of the factories that were within these mills. And now these mills are taken over by things that are not benefiting America. And that's a sad reality. America once was a country that produced so many things, so many different things, that it made so many people more rich, and it actually made the lives of everybody that lived within it better. And now we're looking at these very things as a figment of our imagination, a mere glimpse of what we can be. And that's a very upsetting thing. That's a very, very upsetting thing, because during Barack Obama's presidency, the United States vowed to curb emissions between 26 and 28%. below 2005 levels by 2025. And it's just disgusting because we're cutting down on things when we should be ramping up things. We're doing the complete opposite of exactly what we need to do to actually have a flourishing America. And we know the elites know exactly what they're doing. And they think that you're dumb, and they think that you don't realize. You do realize. And it's going to come and slap them in the face if it comes this year or in 4 years. That's the reality of the situation that we're in. So, with that being said, we're going to be digging into all the polls. The polls of this situation that Joe Biden got himself into is very important. We need to pay attention to these polls because not like 2020, these polls showed a lot of things. 2016 polls showed that Hillary Clinton was going to win, but polls got a lot better since 2016. Believe me. So, of course, when we're looking at the polling averages, I don't know if you could hear me before, probably not. There's a lot of things going wrong with the stream already, but when looking at the silver bulletin, like what I was saying before, and we can see that Trump is ahead of Joe Biden by 2 points national average. But if we were to break down all of the averages when it comes to Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona, North Carolina, Nevada, Florida, and Texas, we can see that Biden is behind Trump on almost every single state. Then when I say almost every single state, I would say, looking at it again, he's actually ahead on every single state. So now when we really take a look at this, and when we really key in on exactly what's happening nationally, Trump is ahead of Biden by 2 points. Pennsylvania, he's up in 2 points. Michigan, about 1 point. Wisconsin, about 0.3 points. Georgia, he's up about 6 points. Arizona, he's up about, I would say, 6 points or so. North Carolina, he's up about 5 points or so. Nevada, he's up about 6 points or so. Florida, he's up about, I would say, 7 points or so. And in Texas, he's up about 9 points. So Trump is in the lead in the silver bulletin. But if we were to look at the 538 project, which is actually a national average of everything combined, we can see that Trump has 41.1%, Biden has 40.9%, and Kennedy has 9%. So we can see already here there's a little bit of a changing in the demographics. We can see that the analysis from poll to poll is a little bit different, but still leaves Trump ahead of Biden. Now, this is within the margin of error. 95% of the averages predicted to fall in this range. So, of course, this is just a very early, this is just an early poll that we're looking at here. We're just making our estimated guessing at this point until after the debate actually takes place. We have a more steady understanding of how politics are forming after this debate, because a lot of people, I guess, according to the mainstream media, are not paying attention to politics, quote unquote. And this debate is going to, quote unquote, make them come home to Biden, according to some mainstream reporting. But if you look at the 270towin.com, you can see that the average of 10 polls, Trump is ahead by 0.5%. In Texas, he's ahead by 6 points. Trump is ahead by 0.5 points. Georgia, he's ahead by 4.8 points. Trump is ahead in Nevada by 3.7 points. But in Rhode Island, of course, a very Democrat state, Biden is ahead by 7 points. Maryland, a very Democratic state, Biden is ahead by 26 points. Arizona, Trump is ahead by 4.6 points. In Missouri, Trump is ahead by 13 points. Michigan, Trump is ahead by 0.6%. Minnesota, Biden is ahead by 2 points. New York, Biden is ahead by 7.5 points. In Pennsylvania, Trump is ahead by 2.2%. New Mexico, Biden is ahead by 7 points. Florida, Trump is ahead by 6.3%. In Iowa, Trump is ahead by 18%. North Carolina, Trump is ahead by 4.8%. California, of course, very Democrat, Biden is ahead by 24%. In Virginia, there's a tie. So this could shift after today. What we're seeing is that obviously millions and millions of people are going to be tuning in live to this debate on CNN, or if they're going to be looking at a duplicate cast, like what I'm going to be live streaming as, and giving my analysis of. And a lot of other networks are also doing the same thing. I know Fox News is doing so, and a lot of other networks on YouTube, they're doing that too, so you don't have to watch all those stupid ads on CNN. In Maine, Trump is ahead by 1%. Utah, Trump is ahead by 32%. Ohio, Trump is ahead by 7.5%. Massachusetts, Biden is ahead by 25 points, of course. Washington, of course, Biden is ahead by 12 points. New Hampshire, Biden is ahead by 3 points. So hopefully some people in New Hampshire actually wake up and stand by their slogan is live free or die. Joe Biden does not want you to live free whatsoever. He wants to take control over you. In South Dakota, Trump is up by 19%. Tennessee, Trump is up by 18%. Louisiana, Trump is up by 14%. Colorado, Biden is up by 10 points over there. Colorado is very Democrat leaning. New Jersey, Biden is up by 7 points. Alaska, Trump is up by 12 points according to the 270towin.com. Indiana, Trump is up by 21%. Montana, Trump is up by 21.5%. Maine District number 1, Biden is up by 8%. Maine District number 2 Trump is up by 20%. South Carolina, Trump is up by 16.5%. Wyoming, 53% Trump. Arkansas, 33% Trump. Iowa, 9% Trump. North Dakota, 37% Trump. Nebraska, 16%. Don't worry, we're almost done. West Virginia, 36%. Kansas, Trump is up by 16%. Idaho, Trump is up by 29%. Oklahoma, 28% for Trump. And Kentucky, Trump is up by 29%. So, of course, we can see that the majority of America is now bright red, if not pink. And we can see that that Republicans are going to get, according to this 270towin.com, the electoral map, Republicans will win by 235 and Democrats will win by 226. I mean, yeah, so there's already leaning towards Republican. We already looked at 3 different polls already, the 270towin.com in 538, but then there's another 538 poll that we can take a look at. And that is actually who's favored to win the 2024 election. Biden wins 50 times out of 100, and Trump wins 49 times out of 100. So this is there's no winner in their simulation 4 times. So if you do want to actually go through that and trust this, their polls and their results are actually based off of a couple different polls and sponsors. So it's actually YouGov, the New York Times, Sierra College, Leger, Quinnipiac University, McLaren and Associates, Morning Consult, YouGov, ActiVote, Morning Consult, and YouGov twice. So now when we look at these things, YouGov says that Biden and Trump will tie. Biden will lose Trump 37-40. Leger 38-38. That's a tie. Quinnipiac University says that Biden will get 37 and Trump will get 43. That's actually putting Trump 6 from the last time. McLaren and Associates, Biden will be 37%, Trump will be 39%. Morning Consult, 44%. That's a tie. YouGov, 49-50. ActiVote, 42% Biden, 44% Trump. Morning Consult, 43% Biden, 44% Trump. YouGov, Biden will get 42 and Trump will get 42, so it's dead even. So 1, 2, 3, 4 different polls are saying dead even. And of course, there's going to be all of this is just a very early results of this. Of exactly what's going to happen during the election. Obviously, nothing is set in stone, and anything can change as of today because of the fact that the debate is going to be on. So if Joe Biden messes up really heavily, he can shift the debate. He can shift the election towards him a little bit more, and if Trump does really poorly, then he can shift it towards Joe Biden a little bit more, and vice versa. So if either of them screw up really badly, they can shift it towards each other. So, what is CNN doing as of right now? They're trying to live stream a pre-show right now. So if we do look at this CNN presidential debate, they said that the live stream is starting at 8:50 p.m. That's about 10 minutes away from right now. But we do have some new information regarding the Uvalde, Texas shooter that happened last year. Now, I wanted to break this first because of the fact that everybody is talking about the debate, obviously, and I was also talking about the debate until I heard about this, which is now breaking news. So the Uvalde Police Department, let me just bring up the story that I heard. So the Uvalde school chief, which was actually responsible for telling the police not to go in the school, has now been arrested over the response to the 2022 mass shooting. So Pete Arredondo, the former chief of the school district police in Uvalde, Texas, has criminally been charged and arrested over his actions on that day when law enforcement delayed entering the school and neutralizing the shooter. The Uvalde County grand jury indicted this former chief and another former district attorney, Adrian Gonzalez, on felony charges of abandoning or endangering a child in response to their botched response to the massacre, which comes 25 months after the shooter murdered 19 students and 2 teachers. So of course this was supposed to happen, and that's because of the fact that the police response was catastrophic. They completely ignored everything that was going on inside of the school, and they decided to just act very poorly. And they decided to, instead of acting fast and acting exactly how the Nashville Police Department acted when there was a mass shooting in their area, they decided to sit outside of the school, and that's not a response whatsoever. That's not an excuse. If you were scared, it does not matter. You're trained to put your life on the line because of the fact that you're the first responders. You're the people that the school children are looking up to save them. So if you're not saving them, who's going to save them? What are you going to call in SWAT? No, you are. You are the police, and you're supposed to be saving the children. So, of course, the Uvalde Police Department did a very catastrophic job. They did a botched job. They did not even try, and it's disturbing that they decided that that was going to be a good idea to do that. And of course, there was some justice, but so many months later, it did not happen fast enough. So, with that being said, we also have another article here. So, everything gets revealed when people aren't really paying attention to the scene. So, an illegal alien actually murdered another 2 workers at a Chick-fil-A, police say. Police in Texas arrested an illegal alien on Thursday who they say murdered 2 people inside of a Chick-fil-A in a restaurant this week. This illegal alien was booked in a jail in Irving early on Thursday morning after the shooting on Wednesday. This illegal alien was from El Salvador, one of the most violent countries in the world, with numerous problems with hyper-violent criminal street gangs. The suspect allegedly murdered the 2 victims at a restaurant located in Las Colinas neighborhood, police say. The suspect's wife reportedly worked at the restaurant, as did the 2 victims, one of whom was identified as 49-year-old Patricia Parlow. The other victim, a male, was not identified. Our investigators have received information that led them to believe that this is a targeted incident, is not a random act of violence, said the Irving police officer Anthony Alexander. Now, this is just adding to the list of people that illegal aliens are killing in this great country. That's because of Joe Biden. This is a referendum on Joe Biden's failure to actually secure the border and have law and order in this country. It's disgusting. In Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is ICE, spokesperson said that the agency's enforcement and removal operations, ERO, in Dallas has logged an immigration detainer with the Irving Police Department on Medellin. ICE only lodges a detainer request against someone if they're illegally inside the United States. Our hearts are broken by the tragedy that unfolded inside of our restaurant on Wednesday. We will miss our 2 team members dearly, Chick-fil-A said in a statement. Right now, our focus is on providing care to our team and victims' families. I want to thank the Irving Police Department for their professionalism and compassion, the statement continued. We will all be working closely with them as they conduct their investigation, of course. Now, this follows another story of 2 Venezuelan illegal aliens who came into this border under Biden and was charged with murdering a young girl in Texas. So 2 illegal aliens. This is on top of exactly what I talked about before. So this is the most upsetting part. These stories just keep going and going and going. You think that you found all of the stories? No, you didn't. There's actually 5 more that got released last week. So this is on June 21st. This is from a Daily Wire. Jonathan Jose Rangel Martinez, 21, and the other person that came through illegally was charged with capital murder of killing a 12-year-old, Jocelyn Murngray. I think we did talk about her, actually, but now we have some names. Yeah, of course. Now I remember we did talk about this, but still, it's just disgusting that Joe Biden is allowing this to happen. And of course, not only that, but now we also saw, like I reported yesterday, 400 plus illegal immigrants have been brought into the United States, and now they are affiliated with ISIS. Now, Mayorkas, or however you say his name, has said that no, there's no connection. There's no connection. There's not 400. Maybe there's 10. Maybe there's 20. But there's definitely not 400. But how does he know this? He doesn't know this. He's just coming up with things on the fly to actually protect himself and the administration that's president at the time, right now, which is Joe Biden. And he just wants to make excuses and obviously protect the administration. But again, we do have evidence of this. We can look back at exactly where these people are coming from when we can see that they're from ISIS dominated and ISIS K dominated for states and countries. So, more than 400 illegal aliens have been brought into the United States through ISIS affiliated human smuggling network under President Joe Biden, according to a report. NBC News reported that multiple United States officials confirmed that the Department of Homeland Security has identified who the individuals are because they were smuggled in through the Islamic terrorist network. The report said that 150 of the individuals have been arrested, but the whereabouts of the 50 are unknown as federal law enforcement officials seek to hunt them down and arrest them. But rest assured, this administration has everything under control and the adults are back in charge, right? The report said that the remaining illegal aliens are spread out over 17 states and that they will likely be arrested soon. But how do they know? They're spread out across 17 states. And like we talked about earlier on the show, we have 7,000 illegal aliens for each one ICE patrol officer. So how are they going to get their hands on them? I don't know. They don't even know. I don't know. They don't know. Nobody knows. Joe Biden doesn't even know. And it's very upsetting that we actually have this report. The Biden administration sought to take credit for tackling down the illegal aliens, claiming that they were doing so out of an abundance of caution, quote unquote. The report said that the illegal aliens crossed from the southern border as part of the national security and immigration crisis that Biden caused with his open border policies. The illegal aliens were all released into the United States because there was no information at the time connecting them to the terrorism when they were contacted by the United States Border Patrol. Illegal aliens organizing from countries where ISIS operates will rarely ever have information in this kind of the database that connects them to terrorism because the countries are usually third world with little to no infrastructure to track terrorist suspects. Also, even if the countries had the information, many of them would not even share it with the United States because they view the United States as an enemy. So, of course. So, again, the United States is stuck between a rock and a hard place because if you try to fix the situation, you can't really fix the situation because of the fact that the country that you're trying to work with is not going to actually cooperate with you. Now, we're going to try to see exactly what's happening on CNN now. I think that there's something streaming on CNN, so we're not going to actually play that because of copyright issues. But the thing is, at the same time, we might have this little issue of it thinking that my streaming software is linked to a live, so they don't want me to actually live stream this event. So the thing is, what we can do here is we can just transfer this over to my iPad and we can just view that right on here. I knew that this was going to happen because Hulu and stuff like that is very strict when it comes to only one. Let me see here. So I'm going to need to log out on here, sign back in. What we're going to do in the meantime is we're going to, well, I'm going to just try to log in real quick. So we don't even have to, let me see here. It would help if this would log in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I thought this. Okay, so we're going to actually take a brief intermission as we figure this out, and then we will get right back to you guys. Okay, so we are back. We actually got everything all situated here. So hopefully it actually works like I have planned. But I have a feeling that it's not because of the fact that the sound is off. Okay, so now let's check this out.
Getting you to the heart of every headline.
Helping you plan ahead with the most accurate.
So let's actually lower this really quick because so we can actually go over this really quick. Okay, so of course it's an ad. We're not going to really watch the ad. We're going to just mute this real quick here so we can just continue to have this on in the background. Okay, so now let's get to the live moment. Okay, so of course it's just ads right now. So they're gearing up to actually have the debate. Of course, there's a lot of ads. There's going to be all different things trying to persuade you to think of and to think of politicians in a certain way. Of course, this debate is highly looked upon because of the fact that millions of Americans are going to be watching this debate live. So, of course, the ads are going to be very expensive. So I would not be surprised if we see really big names try to steal the spotlight in the ads spot because of the fact that so many people have been waiting for this moment to actually take place. So, with that being said, obviously, looking at this now, there's still ads. So what we can actually go over first is the debate rules. So obviously the debate rules are they're stupid. Of course, we need to think about this. When has there ever been a debate that the people are not in front of a live audience? When has there ever been a debate at which you cannot actually talk when the other person is talking? That's just stupid. But with that being said, there's going to be this live coverage here. It looks like they're starting.
Minutes away. We're going to carry the debate live here on ABC in just a few minutes from now, and you just want to be behind the scenes in these debate halls. I mean, you do. You want to know who's there, what the rules are. They're going to be 8 feet from one another.
Okay, so it doesn't look like it's actually starting now.
There will be 2 commercial breaks. Can't even talk to anyone on the team during the breaks. Not even.
Yeah, that's just stupid.
The room is going to be very lonely. Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and the moderators. I want to bring in Donna Brazil.
Yeah, disgusting.
Donna, if you were behind the podium,
no, this is just stupid. It didn't start. No, false alarm. I thought it started, so I tuned in this. No, let's see what's. Yeah, no, it's still not live. No. I don't want to hear any of this. I don't want to see their take on this. I just want to see this actually live. So, like I was talking about, of course, and this is exactly what they were just talking about too. The 2 people, which is the only people inside of the only people that are actually inside of the room is going to be Trump and Biden. That's it. Nobody else. And of course, when you start thinking about all the other debates that we've ever had in American history, no other debate has ever been like this. This is the first time that it's been like this, that it's only the 2 people in the room, that's it, and nobody else. So let me see if there's anything on CNN. So I guess that was on ABC News. Now, this is CNN's coverage. They're going to try to be stupid. Okay, so there's about 5 minutes left. We can see that there's a timer. 5 minutes left of this analyst that they have on MSNBC/CNN. There's only 5 minutes left, so of course, when the other person is talking in any other debate, you are allowed to talk. You're allowed to interject. You're allowed to actually say what you're thinking because of the fact that that's the truth. That's because of the fact that that's normally how debates are. And the fact that, as we can see here, there's nobody here. This is a presidential debate, and we have everybody backstage. We have all of the analysts for live networks looking at things through the monitor instead of actually being there in person. That's not how things are supposed to be. Obviously, there's supposed to be a audience. There's supposed to be a crowd, and that's because of the fact that people realized that Trump is too powerful when it comes to audiences. And Trump has too much leeway and pull when it comes to audiences and crowds. That's why they said, no, we're not going to allow you to actually call your buddies in and sit inside of the stage and sit inside and watch you live. Because they were scared of Joe Biden being booed, and they were scared of Trump being applauded and actually celebrated, because we all miss Trump. Let's be honest. We all miss the economics policy of Trump. We all miss the aura, not to be too to Gen Z with the language here, but we all miss the state of the union, the state of the country when it was under Trump. We all miss all of that. And we miss the gas prices. We miss the meat prices. We miss all of the grocery store prices. We miss everything that Trump brought to us in America. We miss that now when we're suffering with the economics policy of Joe Biden. That's what sucks about this, is that when we are going through and looking exactly what we're spending a month to month, week to week, we're very upset by that because of the fact that so much things have gone and skyrocketed in prices just because of the fact that Joe Biden wants to ruin this country and ruin everybody that has businesses in this country. And the fact that they're celebrating this and not allowing Trump to actually have a crowd or actually have a regular debate, you know, how you can talk in front of another person when they're saying something that's not true, just like the one-liners that Trump pulled on Hillary Clinton. They're so scared of that because of the fact that Trump might pull a one-liner and get Joe Biden completely obliterated, and they're scared of that. But the thing is, CNN needs to grow up and realize that Joe Biden is a grown man. He can defend himself, number one. But number two, the American people can see right through this. They know exactly what they're doing. We know exactly what CNN is trying to do when it comes down to this situation. We know that the rules are bent out of shape to allow Joe Biden to get the upper hand in this. And it's funny that MSNBC, NPR, and stuff like that is going to sit here and make the claim and make the argument that it is actually bent out of shape to allow Trump to get ahead. That's just completely false. And it's not grounded in reality whatsoever. It's common sense here. It's CNN. It's not Fox News. It's not the Daily Wire. It's not Newsmax or OANN. It's not any of those networks. It's CNN. CNN is the Clinton News Network. It's the Clown News Network. It's a network that only liberals go to for the news. It's not anything that is actually looked upon kindly of the right wing. So now it is exactly 9 p.m. EST, and let's see what CNN is saying here. Okay, why are they doing this in Spanish? Why are they doing this in Spanish? We're America.
Sí se permite en este cara a cara que los contendientes utilicen una pluma, un bolígrafo.
Wait a second, am I on the wrong channel? There's no way that I'm on the wrong channel. This is CNN in Espanol. What is going on? CNN, can you just give me the debate? Regular, plain old debate. I do not want CNN in Espanol. This is CNN in Espanol. I do not want CNN. I want regular. Hello? Okay, no. Is this regular? No, this is still Spanish. Why is this Spanish? Okay, this is crazy. Hulu, what are you doing? I am an English speaker. I would like English, please. Okay, here we are. We have English, finally.
The first time a sitting president and a former president go head-to-head. President Biden.
Yeah, and the first time in history to not have a live audience, stupid CNN.
Behind the scenes. We will now see how their strategies pay off. Tonight's debate is hosted
yeah,
by CNN,
Joe Biden took the whole entire week off last week. Let's see how their strategy takes off.
President Biden, former President Trump, starts right now.
Wow, finally CNN.
Highest office. Each will make his case to the American people with just over 4 months until election
Oh, Jake
day.
Tapper.
Good evening, I'm Dana Bash, anchor of CNN's Inside Politics and co-anchor of State of the Union.
I'm Jake Tapper, anchor of CNN's
Oh, we know.
lead and co-anchor of State of the Union. Dana and I will co-moderate this evening. Our job is to facilitate a debate between the two candidates tonight.
We know.
Before we introduce them, we want to share the rules of the debate with the audience at home. Former President Trump will be on the left side of the screen. President Biden will be appearing on the right. A coin toss determined their positions.
Oh, goodness.
Each candidate will have 2
This is
minutes
stupid.
to answer a question and 1 minute each for responses
Oh,
and
God.
rebuttals. An additional minute for follow-up, clarification, or response is at the moderator's discretion.
Oh, so it's at CNN's discretion. Oh, but it's not. It's not in Joe Biden's favor whatsoever, guys. Don't worry.
Should a candidate interrupt when his microphone is muted, he will be difficult to understand for viewers at home. At the end
So
of the debate,
stupid.
each candidate will get 2 minutes for closing statements. There is no studio audience tonight.
We know.
Written notes props or contact with campaign staff are not permitted during the debate. By accepting our invitation to debate, both candidates and their campaigns agreed to accept these rules.
Now, please welcome the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Don't trip. Don't jump. Don't jump. Don't jump. Oh, darkness. Democracy's in darkness, guys. Stupid. He doesn't even know where he is.
45th President of the United States, Donald Trump.
Yeah, there we go. My man. I'll clap. It's so awkward without the audience. This is so awkward. Yeah.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern, the economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
Let's see.
You got to take a look at what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump.
Excuse you? Are you sick?
An economy that was in free fall.
You spent a week and you're sick?
So badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, "It's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm."
That's what you're talking about.
No jobs. Unemployment rate
So
rose
stupid.
to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do was try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do.
No, you
We
didn't.
created 15,000 new jobs. And we brought in
I'm sick.
where
That's
we
so
have 800,000
stupid.
new manufacturing jobs. But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
a
God.
household Where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of
Goodness.
housing, the price of a whole range of
This
things.
is crazy.
That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're gonna
But
make
you're
sure
not
we
dealing with
reduce
them.
the price of
America
housing.
still has
We're
these
gonna make sure
problems.
we build 2 million new
Duh,
units.
duh.
And make sure we cap rents
so stupid.
corporate greed can't take over. The combination of
Corporate
stuff and the
greed,
is
I
what's wrong with
can't.
this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all.
He did
By
it.
the time he left, things were in chaos.
Uh-huh.
Things were in chaos.
Uh-huh.
And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people.
But
$15
prices
for-
of the groceries are
for,
too high,
for
Uncle Joe.
As opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include.
Some of the drugs, all the drugs,
We make that available to everybody.
So
to all
stupid.
Americans. So we're working
He's
to bring
already
down the price of
buffering.
chronic
He's already
kitchen table.
buffering. This is 1
That's
minute
what
into
we're
the
gonna get
debate. Scranton Joe.
Thank you, President Trump.
Thank you.
We had the greatest economy in the history of our country.
You did?
We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID. And when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929.
Exactly.
By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good.
It was.
The thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates. That was a disaster for our country.
And he
but
tried to
other
lock
than that,
down the
we
country.
had given
And
them back a country
God.
where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, a bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our
what's
country.
Joe
It
Biden
is
looking at?
absolutely killing us.
There's no notes allowed.
Thank you, President Biden.
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think.
That's not
Everybody
true.
else
All of
thinks
America
we
thinks
have the
that,
greatest
Uncle
economy in the
Joe.
world. And you know, the fact of the matter is that,
I'm sick.
we find ourselves in a situation
So
where
stupid.
his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion.
To what?
It was a deficit larger than any president has.
That's not true, Joe Biden. You just
He's the only president
you just
I've ever
forgave
that lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover.
because of the fact that
idea
COVID
he
was a
did something
thing.
that was significant. And the military, you know, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. when he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where.
Oh, wait, hold on. We're going to take the one pause that I'm allowed. I'm allowed one pause. I made this rule up. I'm allowed one pause. First of all, in Afghanistan, you had a catastrophe. You had a catastrophe of a withdrawal that left American citizens stranded there, and then we had people clinging to planes trying to get out of Afghanistan. And you're saying that people were being killed in Afghanistan? What are you talking about? People were being killed in Afghanistan and President Obama, and now you were vice president under Obama. You decided to do nothing. And then President Bush, we had so many people as presidents that we're still in Afghanistan. And now you're sitting here trying to blame Trump? No. What you're doing is you're trying to reflect from your catastrophe of a withdrawal from Afghanistan. That's not what any American citizen sees. What American citizens see in Afghanistan is your failure as president to actually withdraw our troops from Afghanistan. That's what America sees. Don't lie to us, and don't whisper sweet little nothings and and I'm sick. Like, no, we as America realize exactly what you're doing, and you're trying to kiss our ass. You're not going to succeed in doing that whatsoever.
Notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world.
What? That's the biggest lie I ever heard.
I want to follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cause countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down, and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No. He inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months.
What's Joe looking at?
It blew up under his leadership because they spent
they needed to switch the camera.
They didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history.
Yeah, it was.
Never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of
it was.
Life.
It was. It definitely. What is Joe Biden looking at?
The national debt soared to record highs. And according to
he looks so confused. He looks so confused. I'm going to switch my camera down here now. That's hilarious.
You've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So former
President what's he looking at?
Tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next
I'm
year.
sick.
You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S.
Why are we focusing on Trump? Look at Joe Biden.
Debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country.
Oh, yeah.
The country was going like never before.
It was.
And we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely
Why is he looking like that?
More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it, something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
It. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on
and
the
he got
vaccine,
sued.
which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine.
100%.
And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but
why are you
throughout the
smiling
entire
during
world,
that?
We're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership.
Nope.
They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent. all of the things he's done, we've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country, and I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
Let's
President
see.
Trump, we will get to immigration.
Oh, but he
later
can't
in this
answer
block.
that.
President
No.
Biden, I want to give you an opportunity
He's
to
not going to
respond
answer
this
any of that,
question about
guys.
the national debt.
I
He has
can't.
the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period.
He doesn't
number
answer.
one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy.
No,
What
it
I'm
didn't.
going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America.
What?
And what's happening?
Trillionaires.
They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes.
That's
If
not
they
true.
Just paid 24%, 25%. either
24,
one of those
23,
numbers, they
8%,
raised $500 million, billion dollars, I should say.
Trillion,
in a 10-year
million,
period.
same
We'd
thing,
be able to
right?
wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making
oh
sure that
my
we're able to
God,
make
this is a
every single
catastrophe.
solitary person eligible for
What?
we've been able to do with
What?
the with the COVID.
With the
excuse me,
COVID.
dealing
Ah!
with everything we have to
This
do
is the
with,
moment I've been waiting. I knew this was going to happen. He's freezing up. He's freezing up.
we finally
Oh my God.
Thank you, President Biden.
Eat,
President Trump.
8%, the million, billion,
to
trillion.
death, and he's destroying Medicare.
God.
Because all of these people are
Goodness
coming in. They're putting them on
graciousness.
Medicare. They're putting them
This
on
dude.
Social Security.
Oh,
They're going
that's
to destroy
bad.
Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social
real
Security.
bad.
These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And
He
it's
was.
a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years
Oh,
is
poor
not to
Joey
be believed.
B.
Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people. They cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid.
Yeah,
think
they
we're
do.
very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Yep.
Thank you,
It
President.
100%
Trump.
is.
This is the
100%.
first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This
Oh, of course
morning,
they're gonna talk
the
about that.
court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take
Always
credit
start
for
with
the
him.
decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion pill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block
This is the
it.
moderate.
And
This is
if
the
you look
moderate
at
position.
whole
This is the moderate
question that you're
position.
asking, complex, but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals.
What are you talking
conservatives,
about, Joe? Dude,
everybody wanted it back.
did
Religious
that really
leaders.
happen?
And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted.
Yeah.
Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar
Is he
throughout
looking
the
at
world, the most
Trump like
respected,
that?
wanted it brought back to
Goodness.
the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now,
Leave it up to the states.
states control it. That's the vote of the people.
100%.
Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's
Yeah.
very important. Some people don't. Follow
Moderate
your heart. but
position.
you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month,
Yeah,
and
it's
even
disgusting.
after birth. After birth. If you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, "We'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you.
It has
President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, have him decide on what the circumstances
Wait,
are.
guys cannot get pregnant, Joe.
The idea that
Oh,
states are going to
goodness.
do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule.
That's so
Look, there's
stupid.
so
That's
many
not
young
the
women
same
who have been-
thing.
including a young woman who just was murdered, and
What?
he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in to talk about that.
Why are we
Here's the
talking
deal.
about-
There's a lot of young women are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters.
Trump just said that he agrees with
it's just
the.
ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
That,
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows
Yeah,
to come across
of
our
course.
border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place
Yeah.
anywhere in the world.
And
Consider
it's
the
thanks
most
to Joe
dangerous
Biden.
place anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country, and they are raping and killing women.
Yeah.
And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is now back with the states. The states are voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue.
100%.
Which, frankly, they didn't. But they would have. Everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Of course.
Staying on the top-
Okay, so the second pause, I'm allowing myself 2 pauses. Okay, so the fact that Joe Biden came from abortion and then went and said an illegal immigrant raped somebody, and then now they're at a funeral, he set himself up for that whole entire statement about the illegal immigration coming through our border. We talked about this. The illegal immigration coming into America is at unprecedented levels, and that's because of the open border policies that Joe Biden has. So the fact that he would just mention that as if that's a little small thing is a huge deal. And Trump nailed this on the head here. This is a thing that Joe Biden has control of, and it's a sad day that Joe Biden is not realizing the error of his ways, and he's not actually allowing the United States ICE Patrol to do their job and deport these illegal immigrants that are coming through this border. And the fact that he keeps freezing up and saying, 500 million, billion, 100 trillion. What are you doing? He at this point in the debate has already lost the debate because of the fact that Trump is so on his toes, and the fact that Trump already knows what's going on. Joe Biden looks so confused. He doesn't even know what day it is. He looks like he hasn't been preparing. When he came out, democracy in darkness or whatever, his face wasn't even lit up. So this is a big catastrophe on their part. And it's disgusting that Joe Biden thinks that he's in the right. Wow. That's all I can say.
President Biden, 7 states. I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion.
Goodness.
Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. The first time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor. Between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's
That's not the
health
politicians, that's the people
ridiculous.
voting.
That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
That's disgusting.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth.
Yeah,
Again, the governor, former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it.
Exactly.
So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen.
No.
Democrat or Republican, nobody wants it to happen.
No, not at all.
That is simply not true.
It is true.
The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not.
But
the
that's what states
circumstance.
do with
Only
Roe
woman's
v.
life is
Wade.
in danger. She's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion. Period. Period. Period.
Period.
Roe v. Wade,
Period.
You have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's true.
We don't
In
think
Virginia.
that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51
100%.
years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban?
They're not going to
on
do
abortion,
that. You're
period,
so
across
stupid.
the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration.
Of
and
course,
border
yeah.
security.
No, he
President
can't respond
Biden,
to
a
that
record
one.
number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed me, endorsed my position.
Okay.
We find ourselves in a situation where, when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages.
No, that's
making
not
sure
true.
The families were
Oh,
separated.
Joey B, that's
That's
just
not
another
the right way to
story.
go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally.
What?
It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until
what
we get
planet?
the total ban.
In what planet? This is not America that you're talking about. What are you talking about? China? The less people, 40% less people went through China? No. We saw 400 ISIS-K linked people come through our open border in America within the last 4 years under Joe Biden. That's disgusting. That's just ISIS-K linked people. We saw over 3 million illegal immigrants come through our border because of Joe Biden, and we saw 1.7 million people got undocumented, and we don't have any idea where they even are. That's because of Joe Biden, not because of Trump. And it's not 40% down, it's 40% high. He, again, mixed up those numbers because he's senile and he's losing his mind.
And the total initiative.
Oh, here we
relative
go.
To what we can do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
Goodness.
I really don't know what he said at the end of
No,
this.
I don't either.
I don't think he knows what he said either.
No.
We had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are
It's too
from
funny.
prisons.
This guy, I can't
People
with
that
Trump. He's
are
so
from
funny.
mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now.
100%.
All terrorists all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere. All over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's
We
never been
100%
anything
do.
like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in
Thank you,
caravans.
President Trump. President
Yep.
Biden.
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed under his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person come in and his administration, killed 3 American soldiers, That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people, that's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
No, he's not. You're lying.
President Trump,
You're senile.
Staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying.
American
and
citizens.
also killing our citizens when they come in.
Yes.
We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens.
Yes, they are.
At a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime.
Yep.
I call it Biden migrant crime.
100%.
They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these 3 incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and they just had the funeral for this girl. 12 years old.
Jocelyn.
This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. No. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and
paid
other places.
for.
Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans.
Nope.
He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all, and he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy.
Yeah,
but he has killed so many people at our border by
Thank you,
allowing
President Trump.
all of these people to come in.
President
and it's
Biden.
a very sad day.
It is.
President Biden, you have the mic.
It is.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act.
On the street.
1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And he opposed, his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living one of the next.
And back to your son.
Stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in
He doesn't
France
know.
for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery. He refused to go to.
You didn't even
He
know.
was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My
He
son
never
is not a
said
loser,
that.
he's not a
He
sucker.
never
You're
said
the
that.
sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taking better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody
he
that's
looks
taking better
scared.
care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation.
Oh,
It wasn't.
yeah.
That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line.
Ooh,
We've done
we
more
hurt
for
your
veterans than any
feelings.
president has in American history.
Sure.
American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right. Thank you so much.
Let's move to the Topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump.
What's Joe
Russian
Biden going to do?
President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on
Why are
every
you
single
laughing,
bit of
Joe? It's
information.
true.
As
With
far
your
as
goofy.
Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine.
100%.
A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in.
He did.
I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned, and so he's got no love lost, but he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind, too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never.
Nope.
Just
He
like
wouldn't have.
Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything.
Nope.
No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
It is.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where
You can't even respond.
Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president, they attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three.
But then you
found
left
ourselves in a
the
situation
rest.
where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want and do whatever you want.
He told
And
Trump.
that's exactly what Trump did.
What?
To Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish, Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done. And they've lost thousands and thousands of troops. 500.
What? Are we forgetting what year this invasion took place? This took place in 2021 under Joe Biden. It's after Ukraine asked Joe Biden if they could join NATO. So what are we talking about here, Joe Biden? Joe Biden, Putin did not invade Ukraine while Trump was president. Welcome to reality world, where we all live in, except for you apparently. Ukraine got invaded under your watch. And Afghanistan, you left a bunch of people just high and dry, left to the Taliban. In Israel, you allowed the Iranian government to actually get unfrozen assets worth millions and millions and millions, if not billions of dollars worth, to give to the Houthis, to give to Hamas, and to give to their tentacle states across the region. That's what you did as president of America. What did Trump do? If you invade 1 inch, you will get bombed. That's what he told Putin, and that's exactly why Putin did not invade, and nothing happened between 2017 and 2021 until you became president. That's history, and that's exactly what happened. Do not make up stories, Joe Biden, because it does not fit well with their narrative that you're trying to push. Don't lie to the American people, because it's disgraceful.
Troops.
President Trump,
I
if I
never
come back
said
to you
that.
for 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine?
No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
President Biden, you have a minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away. And by the way,
4 years, 0 wars. 4 years, Joe, 0 wars. Under you, multiple wars, less than 4 years. Make the distinction.
all that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine.
Oh. Hello?
Because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this, I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question. Would you guard us against Russia?
Okay, what's going on?
It's at that time, nations at that time. And they said, hey, ours, no, they don't want anything that we have, but we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this, I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question. Would you guard us against Russia at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time? And they said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months.
Yep.
But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
We are.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021.
Of course. We knew that CNN was going to bring that up. They've been waiting to ask Trump about the January 6th committee, the January 6th situation ever since that this happened, of course. And of course, when he went on the CNN town hall and he brought his notes of exactly what happened that day, he completely obliviated the news anchor. I don't remember what her name exactly was, but he completely obliviated her, and he made a mockery out of her. And they've been waiting for that moment again to ask Trump all of these questions. And it's disgusting that they're going to ask it now because of the fact that they know that Joe Biden is losing the debate, quite frankly.
Rallied your supporters that day. Some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few.
Yep.
On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever.
Yeah.
We had the lowest regulations
100%.
ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
Yep.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional
Oh, they're going to ask it
oath
again.
through your
They're going to ask it again because Trump reflected this back on Joe Biden, as he should have, because it's not a referendum on Trump. It's a referendum on Joe Biden, which is the president now. He's not a president 4 years ago. He's a president now. Why are we paying attention to things that happened 4 years ago? Because CNN knows that Joe Biden is losing.
actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say.
Yeah.
But she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this. Because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor of, in writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see, I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Yeah.
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up and
Yeah.
number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat
Eating.
there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of
We have the
America.
video.
In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been
What are you
convicted.
talking
He
about?
says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. But he went to every
What?
single court in the nation. I
What?
don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court, and they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what is being done. He did do a damn thing, and these people should be in jail, and they should be the ones who are being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out. And now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that it could be a bloodbath.
Oh,
President
my God.
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities, you go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing. The Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now, out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats, they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right.
Yeah.
We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that.
They
if
should.
a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump.
100%.
President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at.
Oh, here we go.
And the fact of the matter is, what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, deserves to be convicted. The idea that they didn't kill somebody, just went in and broke down doors, broke the windows, occupied offices.
What? The only person that was killed on January 6th was Ashley Babbitt, which was a Trump supporter. That was the only person that was killed on January 6th. All of the other quote-unquote people that they said was killed on January 6th was actually officers that had died from natural causes after, weeks and weeks and months after January 6th. That has nothing to do with Trump. That has nothing to do with anything January 6th related. So the fact that you're bringing up things that have nothing to do with each other is just preposterous. It's quite naive of you that you would think that the American people would believe you at this point, which 2021 January 6th was actually 3 years ago. Now it's 2024, and it is June 27th. Now, if I look at the calendar, it's been exactly 4 years, or a little less than 4 years. We had Joe Biden president for this amount of time. Why is he reflecting and going back on Donald Trump's presidency when we all know that Donald Trump's presidency was better than Joe Biden's? It's because he's trying to reflect from his failures, because everywhere that he turned and everything that he touched failed astronomically and actually resulted in catastrophe after catastrophe. It's disgusting.
Over statutes, the idea that those people are patriots, come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had, the debates we had first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? Will you denounce the people we're talking about now? Will you denounce the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have.
So then
after a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you
Joe
said,
Biden's
I'm coming
scared.
right to you, sir. You want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie, number one. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply
You're
wrong.
literally
No president's
doing
ever
it.
spoken like that before. No president in
You.
our history has spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with, and think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public?
What?
For doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant.
Oh, you want to talk about all of the nasty things that Trump supposedly did back, 40 years or so? How about we talk about what your son Hunter Biden did 4 years ago while Trump was president? How about we talk about all the cocaine that he was smoking, all of the influence peddling that he was doing in Ukraine? How about we talk about all of the porn stars that your son Hunter Biden was taking pictures with? How about we talk about that? And we know that you saw those pictures because in the trial that Hunter just had, you saw the pictures. So, Joe Biden, are you really going to sit here and say that it's bad for Trump to do it and not bad when your son Hunter does it? Are you really going to sit here and say that? I don't think this is going to work for you.
I mean, what are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
Oh.
Your minute, sir.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official at DOJ into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are.
No,
but
he doesn't.
When they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken. Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam. And it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Nope.
Thank you, President
Exactly.
Trump. President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you heard any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? Do you ever hear any presidents say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas?
Oh, my God.
My son died. I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang when back in Germany. And what did
I like how you're bringing up Nazi Germany when you're literally teaming up with Hamas, which is the present day Nazis. You're teaming up with the present day Nazis and you're calling Trump a Nazi supporting person. What are you talking about? You have no idea what you're even talking about because you don't know where you are. You're looking across the stage like, Corn Pop, are you over there? No, listen, you need to pay attention to what your policies are if you're going to try to attack Trump. You're teaming up with the Houthis. You're teaming up with Hamas, which actively is in killing Jewish people. That's exactly what Nazi Germany did. So if you're going to make the connection between Trump and Hitler, why aren't you going to make the connection between Hamas and Nazis? They're the same people, but they have the same exact ideology, but they're in different regions of the world. That's so simple to understand. So simple.
Got killed. I spoke to the mother, and they asked him. They said, "What do you think of those people? The ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones," he said, "I think they're fine people on both sides."
Oh, here we go.
American president.
That was fact-checked false.
Nazis coming out of fields, carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas. We're fine people. And this is a guy who says Hitler's done some good things. I'd like to know what they are. Good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense of American democracy.
President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on this. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. No. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency, he's without question the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day, it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
100%.
And debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow that's the only
Where is
reason
he
I
looking?
Ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated, we saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the windows. We saw people occupying his own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So why?
He has not chosen a vice president.
They serve with him. Why are they not endorsing him?
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to be right back.
Of course. There's an ad. Okay, so of course. So CNN is going to cut to commercial as soon as the debate actually gets interesting here. But the thing is, right, in the debate, they talked about a tariff that Trump is supposedly going to implement that is going to be set at 10%. Now, that is actually part of a broader a broader policy that Trump wants to implement, which actually cuts income tax by 100%. You will not pay a penny in income tax, which will actually help out the American people way more than tariffs will actually hurt the American people. And I would like them to actually show exactly what's happening in this live studio in Atlanta, because Joe Biden is going to be loaded up with a cocktail of drugs. Just so you guys know. Okay, so moving with the next thing that Joe Biden said. Joe Biden just keeps looking off on the side. Like he's seeing coin pop. We already talked about that. It's just disgusting that Joe Biden is the president of America, which he can't even look at the camera correctly. I can see the camera. I have my screen right on my camera. I can see my camera just fine. I can see the camera that's over here too. I can see all of my cameras just fine. Joe Biden has a hard time seeing the camera for some reason. I don't know why. But Trump said, right, that he wants, in the abortion thing that happened earlier in this debate, Trump said that he will keep it open to the states to decide exactly what they want to do. And of course, he wants there to be a caveat for rape, incest, and life of the mother. Joe Biden, on the other hand, says that Trump does not believe this, but Trump just said this like a second ago. So it's either that Joe Biden is just forgetting, which is a charitable way of coming to a conclusion on this, or it's the fact that that Joe Biden is purposefully lying to the American people. So again, are we going to sit here and try to come up with our own conclusions from this, or are we going to actually have common sense here? Because we know that there should be common sense. We know that there's the truth of the matter. And the truth of the matter is that Joe Biden is senile. Joe Biden ruined the country that we had under Trump. And Joe Biden is ruining every single policy that actually helped the American people. And he does not like helping the American people. He thinks that we're bad people. That's exactly the sad situation that we're living in, that Joe Biden... I'm trying to charge my iPad here, so if I am not looking at the camera, it's not because I'm going senile. I think I unplugged the wrong thing here. Okay. Hold on, let me just plug in my iPad so I can just finish up what I'm saying. Okay, so the thing is that Joe Biden does not like any policy that actually helps the American people because of the fact that he wants to actually destroy the American people. He does not like us, and he does not want us to succeed as America. So, of course, when Trump says that, yes, there's going to be a 10% tariff on all goods that come from other countries, that's number one going to be... that's going to be added with a 0% income tax throughout America. But not only that, but we're also going to see the fact that that more things are going to be produced in America. Because of the fact that things are going to be more expensive from other countries, we're going to see things be more produced here. And that's actually a good thing. Having things be produced in America instead of abroad is going to be better for American. It's going to make sure that we can actually pay off our debt faster. And it's going to just overall be better for us as America. But of course, they're not going to admit this during the debate because of the fact that they just want to push their agenda, and that's it. So let's see what's actually going on here. Okay, I think the debate is back here. So let's tune back in.
Live from Georgia. Let's talk about persistent challenges you both faced in your first terms, and you'd certainly face again in a second term. President Biden, while black unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, black families still earn far less than white families. Black mothers are still 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes, and black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one.
You think that CNN's lying?
Small black businesses that have been started at any time in history. Number two, the wages of black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number three, we're providing housing for black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporate
here we go. Okay, I guess I was wrong in the aspect of them actually putting Joe Biden on a cocktail of drugs. I think I was wrong on that aspect because of the fact that he's still buffering. Why is he buffering? Get up to speed, connect yourself to Ethernet. Maybe you'll get some more better Wi-Fi reception, but you're buffering. You need to know what you're talking about before you start speaking, Joe. Hello? It's talking about buffering. I would like my internet to cooperate. Please.
People out
there we
of
are.
Houses. And in addition to that, we find that the impact on the
He doesn't know.
choice that black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly difficult.
Oh, goodness.
When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce black child care costs. I cut them in half. We got to make sure we provide for child care costs. We got to make sure, because when you provide those child care protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done.
What did he even
Considerably more
say?
to be done. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
What did you even say?
49 seconds left. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
You didn't even answer the
I'm
question.
being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any black family, first-time home buyer, should get a $10,000 tax
Again,
credit to
not
be able
helping
to buy their
inflation.
first home, so they can get started. I made sure that we're in a situation where all those black families and those black individuals who had to take out student loans that were ballooning, that if they were engaged in nursing, doctor, and anything having to do with volunteerism, if they
This
paid
is
their bills
crazy.
for 10
This is not
years
a good debate.
on their student debt, all the rest is forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that, and we're going to do a whole lot more for black families.
Thank you, President Trump.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right, it's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone.
Yeah.
He destroyed it with his Green New Scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back.
What?
15% unemployment. He decimated the economy. Absolutely
What are you talking about? That's because of your friends in the Democratic Party to shut down the country. So because of the fact that there was a thing called COVID, we had to shut down everything. Nobody could go to work. Nobody could go to school. I missed a whole entire year of school because of policies that the Democrats wanted to pass. And because of the fact that they passed these regulations and these policies, I couldn't go anywhere, and most of Americans couldn't go anywhere. So, of course, they got laid off. All the businesses fell under. 15 to 20% of Yelp businesses, which is mom and pop businesses, went out of business. And you're sitting here blaming Trump? You're a disgrace. You really are.
The economy. That's why there was no inflation at the time. There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in all communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered, the ACA has increased. I made sure that they're $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for the health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again, and they're going to try again if they win. You find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing anything, we put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity and making sure people have a shot to make it. There's a lot going on, but in inflation,
Equity.
He caused it by his tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting
In recorded history, when did this reporting first came out? Because BC, there was no temperature gauge. And highest in reported history. Oh yeah, highest in reported history, so much that from the beginning of Earth's founding, you have temperature gauges? No, you don't have temperature gauges from then. Shut up. Like, oh my God, I can't. The horrible spin that these quote unquote nonpartisan debate moderators have is just appalling. It really is.
Effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Well, let me just go back to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super predators was his name.
He forgot about it.
And they've taken great offense at it, and now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job, great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
You've 38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
I don't know where the hell he's been. The idea that anything he said is true. I've passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. We find ourselves, and by the way, black colleges, I came up with $15 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities and colleges, because they don't have the kind of contributors that they have to build these laboratories and the like. Any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. They just
100%, 100%, and that's been at the forefront of America since what, the 19th Amendment was passed. So what are you talking about here? Okay, first of all, Joe Biden, you're making up stories. Of course, you want equity. Equity is actually taking from one group of people to put to another group of people, which is an unfair. It's not equality. Equality is what we have in America right now. If there is an unproportionate number of people in a certain job or a certain a school system, whatever, it is what it is. It's not because of the fact that this is racist. It's because it's equality. We have the same exact group of rules for everybody, no matter what your skin color is. That's what it's supposed to be at Harvard, Yale University, all of these campuses, and all of these universities, they have the same exact standards. And that's why when you actually get into these universities, they're looked up upon. They're saying to all of the big corporations and the big companies, they're saying, wow, if you have a degree from one of these astound universities, I would really like you to work for my company. And that's exactly what ends up happening, but not so much anymore, because they're losing all credibility, because they want to do equity, which is what Joe Biden is talking about, in which case they just give out all of these diplomas and all of these degrees to people that never actually earn them. That's not a good thing at all.
Those jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, he hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. He pulled out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord.
No, that's good that you brought that up.
Because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, where there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it.
That's not true.
He wants to undo all that I've done.
the Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a
Why is his
rip-off
mouth
of the
open? Close your
United
mouth.
States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones. It was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it. And it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people, but we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
He is.
The idea is that we, in fact, we were the only ones of consequence who were not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything? We're not able to, the United States can't get its under control. One of the largest polluters in the world, number one.
No, we're not.
Significant
No, we're not. Do not lie to the American people. Are you going to look at the smog that China puts out, that all of these other countries in Asia put out, and you're going to tell me and the American people that we're the highest polluters of the earth? You're lying. Don't lie to the American people as if we don't see the smog that Temu factories across the world put out. Don't lie to us when we have sweatshops across the world that are just putting out smog into the environment, putting all of the dirt that they get from their factories into the ocean, and all of the trash in India. You're going to tell me that America is the biggest polluter? No. Save me the trouble, Joe. Nobody trusts you. That's all.
By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress, and we're continuing to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people who will learn how to deal with climate, just like the Peace Corps. And we're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements of cause of pollution. But the idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate, I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs, one company agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, one, voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way,
so every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share.
Oh my God. So you're going to see all of the billionaires move out of America. You're going to see all the corporations move out of America like they've been doing. They're going to just move into Canada or move into the complete opposite side of the world in Australia. You're going to move into China where it's a lot cheaper. And you're going to send all of those corporations flying out of this country at record numbers that we've never saw before because of policies that you want to implement, like Social Security. Social Security has been bankrupted since it's founded. Okay, listen. Social Security, Medicare, you paid into the system. They did not take your money, put it into a lockbox. No, you get way more than what you put in. That's not what a structured system is. That's called a Ponzi scheme. You're stealing from Joe to pay Steve. You're stealing from Steve then to pay Joanne. Okay, you're back and forth until the last person that, like me, that paid for all of these services, when I retire in 40, 50, maybe never even retire at this point, when I retire, I'm not going to get anything. And I already realize this. So I'm paying for my grandparents. So you're welcome, grandparents. I do love you, though.
Everybody making under $170,000 pays 6% of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time of the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're going to, I've been proposing that everybody, they pay, the millionaires
What?
pay 1%.
He's glitching again.
1%. So no one I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no, that one enough will keep it solvent. But the biggest thing I'll do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's
never
plenty
said that.
to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare both times. And that's what. And if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that I believe supports, is in fact want to cut it as well.
That's
The
not true.
idea
They didn't
that
say that.
we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the ACA, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is, we're in a situation where we talk about education for black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants by another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 toward their tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy.
No.
He lies. I've never seen it. He could look you in the face. About so many other things, too.
Yes.
And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it, because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels.
Yeah, they are.
He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden.
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it, number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world, the reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way,
that's funny that you say that we're the most successful country in the world, in that we have the best economy in the world. But you want to destroy that economy by taxing the quote unquote rich people and the rich corporations. But they're just going to move out. And now we're not going to be the best buy on the street anymore because of the fact that you're taking up all of the businesses. You're going to move them abroad, and they're not going to want to stay here anymore. They're not going to want to stay here if you're going to be charging them at a higher rate. So all of the economy that you're applauding now is going to be down the drain because of policies that you're going to implement. That's disgusting.
those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession, and inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care.
Of course, they're not going to give him a chance to answer that. Of course.
President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons, many from mental institutions? Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He's the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We're the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world, the finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody, number one. Number two, the idea that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online. 159 or 58, don't hold me the exact number, presidential historians, they've had meetings and they voted who was the worst president in American history. One through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with child care, he did for virtually nothing to child care. We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, the question was
he doesn't even know what he's talking about.
Make child care more affordable. If you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you. And they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
Yep.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about increased the tariff. He will increase the taxes on middle-class people.
No, he won't.
I said I'd never raise the tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming into the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that were imported. Number two, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised, he's somehow helped the middle class. The middle class have been devastated by
That's not true. That's not true. Oh my God. Okay, this is the biggest lie Joe has told today because of the fact that during President Trump's presidency, I had so much money to spare because of gas prices being so low and everything in between that I was investing at higher rates than I've ever had. And I can't even invest now because the whole entire economy is ruined. With my dollar, I can't spend anything. I have no dollar left at the end of the week because of all my bills coming up. And inflation and interest rates are at record levels. They're at 30% for some of my credit cards, which I don't pay. I pay that straight off. And the reality of the situation is that when President Trump was president, I had so much money left over that I invested that into the stock market, and the stock market actually turned out really good for me. I made thousands of dollars in the stock market, and then I invested that in gold, silver, and platinum, and I made thousands of dollars in that. I got metaphorically rich off of Trump's administration and metaphorically rich under Trump's presidency. Now I'm getting poor under Joe Biden. I need to sell some stocks to pay for some bills because gas prices are at so high. I need to go more often because gas is more cheaper. I need to go to the market more often because now all Biden inflation has caused all of the market packages to actually get smaller because you pay the same amount, you get smaller quantity of everything. Joe Biden has ruined this economy. And to actually try to blame this on Trump and say that the middle-class Americans were worse under Trump is a complete lie. Again, a lie from Joe Biden. It's disgusting.
Tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You had the largest deficit of any president in American history, number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are at the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden.
You lost.
Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to come, but he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country,
Oh, he's
Joe,
sick.
and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot, and we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low, because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways. But the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery to detect fentanyl. These big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all the people at the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues, said, "Don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically." No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology.
Mexico is not working with you. If you ever signed a law saying that you need to remain in Mexico and stay in Mexico until your court date is, the Mexican president already said that he will not cooperate with that. You are not in control of Mexico at all. The opposite is the truth. Again, a lie. Mexico has control over Joe Biden and America. That's the truth of the matter.
That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, because this does pertain to it. He ended Remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter.
Yeah.
I think a good guy. And he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago, but Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where he paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86
Yeah, the age
at
thing.
the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think just look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look how I've turned around the horrible situation.
Look at what you done. Oh, you did not just say that. Oh, inflation's at record levels. We see millions and millions of people coming right through our border. We see, I don't know, Ukraine getting invaded by Russia. I don't know. We see Israel being attacked every single day by Hamas and Iran, which you unlocked billions of dollars for in frozen assets. I don't know. I mean, if the American people could just open their eyes, which they are doing, we would see exactly that. But of course, Joe Biden's too busy looking around the stage and talking to Corn Pop that he doesn't realize what his policies are actually doing abroad, and not only abroad, but here on American soil with American citizens actually getting killed by illegal immigrants every single day. We just saw that 8 days ago, reported by mainstream media outlets everywhere.
Me. As I said, 15 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought off a lot of people. The whole idea of computer chips, we used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas.
That's not true.
Product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States, and guess what?
They're not doing
fabs, they call to build these chips. Those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them, and there's billions. About $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before.
About your presidency?
We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us, all of our allies, and those who he coddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, he sends love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood. that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way, and I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test, and you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced them. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor, and then I took another one, a similar one, and one of them said they've never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's it. Anyway.
What are you talking about? He's going back and forth. Well, anyway, the 250. Is that what you said? I never said that. Oh my God, Joe, just go with what you think he weighs. Like, did you see that, Joe? Please. Anyways, oh my God, I can't.
Take a look at what he says he is, and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. The reason I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf with you if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Okay,
Let's not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
Let's not act like children.
to a specific concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is attack on all, and required response. The idea, I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done and what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump,
Why does he
as
look
I come
like
back
that?
to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this? He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia, because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will you accept the results
He
of the
already
election,
answered.
regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Well, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all.
Yeah, but you know what happened? And after the court cases came together and they said, you know what, no, there's no evidence of this, whatever, Trump got out. After Inauguration Day, Trump left the White House. And guess who came into the White House? This Neanderthal over here that made the whole entire world break down, made the invasion in Ukraine happen, made the invasion of Israel, which got 1,200 people held hostage, and inflation at record levels. We saw never in the history of the country have we ever saw a president do so much harm in so little time. It's baffling to me that Joe Biden can just turn on to Trump and say, well, this is what happened 4 years ago. Well, look at what's happening now, right now in this country with your administration. It's not even a serious administration. Even today, you're still posting parties that you're having at the White House. How about we have one day that you're serious as a president, Joe Biden? Please, humor me.
You know what? I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back.
Of course, and then there's an ad. Okay,
presidential.
so of course, as soon as it gets a little bit interesting, they just cut to commercial. But we have some things to talk about. So, of course, Joe Biden has lied through his teeth. We tried to fact check him as soon as that he said stuff. But before the last commercial break, I think this is the last commercial break because I believe this ends at 11. But we're a little bit behind because I keep pausing to talk about things. So, would Trump actually sign a 6-week abortion ban? I do not believe so. A federal abortion ban at 6 weeks is not going to be a thing that's going to happen. It's never going to get passed through Congress. It's never going to happen because that's not where the majority of the country is right now. The majority of the country is at the 15 weeks. Around the 15 weeks, that's what the majority of the country can come together and say, listen, a baby is a baby. But then the argument would be, well, why isn't it not at 14 weeks? Why is the baby a baby at 14 weeks but not 15 weeks? And vice versa, so on and so forth, and et cetera, whatever. But the thing is, right, we as a country should just leave this up to the states. There shouldn't be a federal law except for the rape incest and the life of the mother. Those are the only three things, and those are the three things that Trump talked about, and the three things that Trump actually supported doing. And that's because of the fact that those are the three things that the most of Americans actually agree with. And that's why it's the three most important things in America's mind. But the thing is, Trump didn't just say that he supports these things. Joe Biden just keeps lying through his teeth. So Biden also said that if Putin invades Ukraine a little bit, it's not a big deal. This is exactly what he said years ago, and because of the fact that 3 years ago, Putin invaded Ukraine, and that's because of the fact that, like I said, Joe Biden said that if Putin invades Ukraine a little bit, it's not a big deal. And then Putin said, okay, well, if you're allowing me to do it a little bit, then I'll just go and full send it, and go all the way into Ukraine and try to take it over and go back to what once was. And this is exactly why you can't give your enemy an inch, because if you give them an inch, they're gonna take a mile. But of course, Joe Biden does not know this because he just keeps glitching. This is exactly what he's doing. He's looking across the stage. He's just looking off to the side. He's looking all confused. He's glitching out. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But this is exactly what we thought was going to happen. But I thought this was going to happen a little bit farther into the debate. Like, I thought it was going to happen now. But it did happen as soon as we started the debate. So as soon as we started this debate, we saw Joe Biden already glitching out, already not knowing what to say. Million, billion, trillion. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. Of course, he wants to raise taxes on the wealthy, but that's not going to help America in the middle class more broadly, because of the fact that the middle class works for these big corporations that Biden hates. So if you tax these corporations at higher rates and they lose money, who do you think is going to pay for that? That's the average American working for these companies that's going to have to pay for that, because of the fact that these companies aren't just going to take the loss. So, of course, and of course, Joe Biden wants to actually erase all student loans. So, talking about the rule of law in the Supreme Court, like we just talked about in this debate, Joe Biden is the one that keeps ignoring the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said that you cannot forgive student loans at all, because of the fact that it's going to be costing the American taxpayer $320 billion. So the Supreme Court said, no, you do not absolutely have the right to do that. So, of course, he just keeps ignoring the Supreme Court. But we are back in action in
predetermined
this
by a
debate.
Coin toss. We're going to begin with you, President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
Oh,
We've made
see,
significant
this is what I'm talking about.
progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is,
No.
I said,
No, we should not be taxed a penny in America, but we do. And that's a sad reality that all of America has to live with. It is. It's very sad.
even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need.
Wow,
You know
he's
what that
glitching a
did?
lot.
That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along, it's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything.
No.
He doesn't do, all he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world.
Nope.
What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like, even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate.
Why is there
Anderson
another
Cooper
commercial?
And Aaron Burnett starts now on CNN.
Wait, that's
Watched
it?
as a nation now, the
Wait,
first
this is it?
presidential debate of this election cycle.
That's
This
the
is
most
earliest
awkward
presidential
ending.
debate that we've ever witnessed as a
Nah.
country. We're staying on this shot to see if they acknowledge one another. One of the telling parts of this evening was
What?
from the very
They didn't even get Trump to say the end. They just had Joe Biden finish off. That's not fair whatsoever. That's disgusting. So they're trying to act nonpartisan. They're trying to act like, oh, well, it's okay, guys, because we're going to sit here and we're going to make sure that you get the unbiased coverage and stuff like that. No, you're not giving unbiased coverage. You just ended the whole entire debate on Joe Biden. What are you talking about? So for anyone that's saying that this is non-biased and in that this should have happened, what are you talking about? No, this should have been held by the debate commission, like it always is, because of the fact that they have certain rules and regulations, which every single debate, presidential debate at least, has gone through since the beginning of time. So we should have went through the commission for debates, and they should have allowed them to actually hold the debate because of the fact that there's rules and regulations you need to follow. Each person needs to have the same exact questions being asked. They asked a bunch of questions to Trump, but then they asked some easy softball questions to Joe Biden, just so Joe Biden can get a hit on Trump. But the thing is, that was the most awkward ending of anything I've ever saw in my life because of the fact that they didn't even end. They didn't say like, oh, this is the last minute. Do you want to finish up? Do you want to finish up? It's not even 11 o'clock yet. It's 10:56 p.m. So what, you're saying that this ends at 10:50? It's because of the fact that Trump won this debate, 100%. Trump won this debate. Joe Biden failed this debate because of the fact that Joe Biden constantly glitched out on stage. He doesn't know where he is. He's completely forgetting the names of everybody that formally endorsed him for some reason. No, nobody endorsed him. He's lying. He thinks that the American people are stupid. He thinks that you, the person that's going to potentially vote for him, is stupid. No, none of these things that Joe Biden is actually saying is true because of the fact that you can look at common sense. You can look at the state of the world. You can look at the state of America under Trump and then compare that to what the state of the world is under Biden. And you can see that it's been a huge catastrophe. And if you look at the Trump administration, we had 4 years and 0 wars. So you pick your choice in November, which candidate you want to see in the White House for the next 4 years. Do you want to see somebody that you're going to vote for now? And in a couple of years from now, you might not see them. They might fall down the stairs. They might have a catastrophe that they just, I don't know, have a heart attack. Do you want to see that? No, you don't want to see that. So the thing is, do you want to see Kamala Harris be president of America? No, you don't. You want to see former President Trump be president of America because of the fact that the way that he governed is the correct way of what you're supposed to govern with. So I heard some rumors that Trump was going to release his vice presidential candidate. Now, I don't actually think that he did release his vice presidential candidate today. That's because of the fact that he wants to wait. Yeah, everybody's saying that Joe Biden lost. The Babylon Bee is just saying Trump indicted for murdering elderly man on CNN. So, of course, and this would be the most fair indictment that he ever won. So political polls just took a poll. 17,374 people already voted, and 19 hours are left. I'm going to actually retweet this. When people are voting on this poll, so there's 17,374 votes, 19 hours left or so. 73% of people say Trump won. So let's actually see where these results are. I'm going to be talking about this on tomorrow's show, exactly where this is. Vivek Ramaswamy is trending. Kamala Harris is trending. Obviously, CNN is trending, and The Real Debate is trending too. So I guess RFK, I should say, is actually having his own debate on Twitter or /X. And not a lot of people are actually thinking that Joe Biden won, of course. Obviously, the drugs that Joe Biden took are not working. That's what a lot of people are saying. And people are saying that there's not going to be a rematch. And people are saying that Joe Biden is creating his own language on live TV. That's what the Babylon Bee is saying. The Babylon Bee just comes out with some bangers. I can't. So, of course, there's not going to be another debate. Trump won the debate. It's so funny. I would see this again just on my own because I would like to see this. I would like to see this again. This would be worth watching again because this was so funny. And the fact that we're not going to get another debate, probably, I hope that we get another debate because that would be really funny. And imagine Trump chooses Vivek Ramaswamy or Ron DeSantis to be VP and they battle Kamala Harris. That would be so funny. So with that being said, we're going to end off this stream here. I know we've been on the air for so long already. This was my first official live stream, so I know that there was some hiccups. We're going to strain this out for the next debate. We're going to be live streaming the second debate if there is one, and we're going to be live streaming the vice presidential debate as well, because I do like live streaming because we get this directly out of my cameras into your phone, your iPad, your computer, your TV, wherever you're watching this stream. And it's the best way that I can actually get information straight to you guys as fast as possible. So I don't have to go through all of YouTube's like uploading process and the slowness of that. So with that being said, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. If you did like my analysis of this debate and you did want some more content made by me and Arugio Studios, you can subscribe down below because I do post new episodes of my show every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And yes, that includes tomorrow. With that being said, we're going to sum up this breakdown right here.